Hola, ¿cómo estás? Welcome. Soccer Over There is live. You've got Jason and John, and Nick and Jarrett are rumored to be making appearances this evening at some point.
Spreading gossip like that.
Is it gossip if they said they were coming?
Yeah, for the moment.
Okay, I can see it's going to be one of those
until
shows
they
already.
show up. It is a rumor, gossip, rumor, and innuendo.
Okay, they said they were coming, so I'm going by what the people involved in the situation said. I take that as not a rumor. Anyway, John likes to redefine words from time to time. We're going to redefine some soccer and some football this evening because we got a lot of things to talk about. We got MLS moves. Eric Remedi is now in San Jose with the Earthquakes. We'll talk about that. We've got the Copa de la Liga in Argentina. That is back in action. And Boca and River, ooh. We'll get into those situations. We'll talk about the interesting finish to the Brasileirão in Brazil with Inter and Flamengo playing very soon, and they are battling it out for the title. You know, we got the Big Five in Europe to talk about, too. We got this little thing called Champions League that's back underway tomorrow. What are you? Are you John Cena now?
High five.
I could have kept going with like 57 other things. Because it's been a while, and
yes, it has.
And thank you, people, for being patient. Sometimes, look, life gets in the way, right? Sometimes life happens, and you got to take care of some things, and you got to take care of some people around you, and you got to do what you got to do. And it can be difficult at times, but this is what we do, right? So life has happened. Life probably still happening because it does, right? So thank you for being patient, and thank you for understanding our schedule being a little out of whack over the last couple of days. It's felt weird missing like 2 shows, and like I felt like I haven't talked about soccer in 2 weeks, and it's really like 2 shows. So, yeah, craziness. But let's get into it. 4 card. Already yelling because I've seen this multiple places, and tranquilo, people. The David Martinez going from Defensa to River situation. 4 card. Why wasn't Martinez even in the 18 for River? Question, exclamation. I don't know if he was actually registered yet, and I don't think he had ever trained with them yet. So that's why. He's expected to be in the lineup for this weekend when they play their next game. They're leaving all their transfer business to the very, very end. Palavecino is there now. I think him and Martinez are supposed to be in the team for next week. 4 card, you were absolutely yelling. You had 2 exclamation marks. That's yelling. They've also added about 5 other players since Friday, so they're just like trying to find guys who can come in and help this team. Let's get into England because that is the league that drives a lot of conversation in this neck of the woods. And look, things have changed a little bit. Think that table has changed just a bit. And I'm really after Christmas, I kind of have a rule, and we'll see how it plays out here. 10-point lead, or you include the games in hand to get to that 10-point lead. After Christmas, game over. If you have a 10-point lead on second place, game over. You're not losing the title. Manchester City, now the game in hand puts them to that because they have a game in hand on Manchester United and Leicester. If they win that game in hand, they're on 56. Manchester United and Leicester on 46. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has said we're not a title contender. Their draw on the weekend against a jacked-up, gravy-filled Big Sam shows that you're not a title contender. Manchester City's got the title. It's theirs to lose now. It's done. Now, the rest of the table is really interesting. Domer is probably still celebrating because Chelsea, who fired Frank Lampard not that long ago, is now in 4th place and in a Champions League spot. Amazing. West Ham is level with them on points at 42, and that means the defending champs, Liverpool, are in 6th. 3 straight losses. Everton is 3 points back and has 2 games in hand. Aston Villa is 4 points behind them with 2 games in hand. Tottenham has a game in hand and they're 4 points back. Mm-hmm. Whew.
Uh-huh.
Whew. It happens to teams, and we've talked about it for a while. The conversation around Jurgen Klopp over the weekend was insane. Any real Liverpool fan who would want Jurgen Klopp to leave is incredibly intoxicated on, like, not even the good glue, like the really bad glue that you would be huffing to want that to happen. It's a horrible, horrible idea. Look, is Jurgen Klopp going through some stuff personally? He is. Is that affecting his performances? No. Is that affecting his goalkeeper making another horrible, horrible mistake? No, it's not. Is he snippy with people? Yes, and they got to take better care of him to not put him in those situations. If he's in that kind of mood, have somebody else do it, pay the fine. I don't care, whatever it takes. But team is a mess. The team's just absolutely a mess. It was a beautiful goal to open things up on the weekend. The assist of the season. The absolute assist of the season from Firmino. Great finish from Mo Salah. And then you give up 3 goals in 7 minutes. And it's not all on the goalkeeper. I know that's the easy one. And it's easy, whether it's De La Gea, whether for a while there it was Kepa, whoever you want to point at. It's easy to point at the goalkeeper and say it's all their fault. Liverpool's defense is horrendous.
Yeah.
Absolutely horrendous. I mean, the goals that Leicester was getting, Alisson made a couple of absurd saves to keep it at that point. The goals they're giving up are just bad goals, beyond the mistakes that he's making. I mean, the defense is awful. And they've got injuries, and that's part of it. It is. But they haven't handled the situation well. They didn't handle the transfer market well. You get what you pay for, and they're in 6th, and that's where it stands. It's Manchester City's to lose. They're the best team in the league. Do want to see how they balance European competition coming back up, because that's got to be a big focus for them. It's got to be a huge focus for Pep Guardiola. Manchester United's going to have to do that. Leicester's going to have to do that. It's Manchester City's to lose. I mean, are you in agreement there, or are you thinking that Manchester United or Leicester can? Because I don't think anybody else can. Do you think either one of them can push on their own to put pressure on Manchester City?
No, I think City's got to help them out. I think that, with the run that City is on, it would have to take a run almost of that kind of an inverse for it to happen. I think that there would have to be some serious help for Manchester City to come back to the pack with a 10-point lead. When you bring in Diaz and Joao Cancelo, and a lot of folks are looking at Gundogan as a possible Player of the Year nominee because of his form.
It's been incredible.
Having Joao Cancelo as part of that distraction to help out Gundogan has really contributed to that kind of a success that Gundogan has had with this run that he's been on. And think about it from Manchester City's perspective. You haven't had a healthy Kevin De Bruyne. You haven't had a healthy Sergio Aguero, 2 of the guys that are normally attached to the successes that you see in the Premier League with Manchester City. You haven't had either of them. And De Bruyne, for as long as he's been there, has always been the centerpiece. He's been that straw that we talk about for Manchester City. He hasn't been there healthy for the entire season, and you're still seeing other ways that folks are contributing. You're seeing Sterling contribute. You're seeing Phil Foden contribute. You're seeing Gundogan do what he's been doing. But it's just been different folks doing what they've been doing. At Manchester City, I think it would have to seriously come back to the rest for Manchester United and Leicester to have a shot.
So, Manchester City coming up, they go to Everton, they go to Arsenal in league. Okay, you get tested a little bit there. Then you've got the series with Mönchengladbach. The first game is it's not in Germany. Where is it again? Budapest, I think. I can't keep up
Budapest.
With who's where.
Yeah. Where in the world is this match? It's Budapest, I think.
Then you got 3 league games with West Ham. You host them. You host Manchester United. You go to Fulham. Yeah. Then you host Mönchengladbach. Then you get Everton in FA Cup, which that's coming off of the Mönchengladbach second leg. So how seriously you take that game is going to depend on how you come out of that. You get Wolves let's see. Well, Wolves will get postponed because it's set for the same day. So then you'll get Leicester next, but you'll have plenty of time to recover. So, yeah, it'll just depend on how you come out of Gladbach as to whether you go for FA Cup. Ropes asked about that. You've got the EFL Cup, the Gummy Bear Cup, the final, right, against Tottenham in April. Hopefully more Champions League for Pep Guardiola to manage, too. I mean, I don't think they're in a position, even with the injuries that they've had, to where they have to sacrifice anything. You're in the final of the Gummy Bear Cup. You've won that like every year since it started, it seems like. So why not go get it again? Yeah. FA Cup, if you can, you will. I mean, Champions League's going to take priority. League play is going to take priority. But so far, so good. You can handle it. You're going to keep going. You're going to keep going if you're Manchester City, and you're going to keep trying to win everything. And, it's funny because things had flipped around on Guardiola and City and see, Klopp's better. Oh, see what's going on. Look at what they have done since he arrived. Even take the first year where people are like, you can't adjust to the Premier League. It's the Premier League. I don't care what he did. It's the Premier League. Well, he's done things that nobody's done in the Premier League with points and with goals and with everything. And he looks like he's going to do it again. I mean, the guy's I think he's the best ever. I do. He needs a Champions League probably because people will always point at that. I mean, he's got two. It's not like this is where I get so frustrated with it because your reaction is very typical. He needs Champions League. Yep. It's just, he's not doing it in Champions League.
Everybody's looking at the Manchester City section. It's like, well, he doesn't have a Champions League with Manchester City, therefore he must stink.
And those people are called morons. They're called stupid because the Champions League is a crapshoot. It just is. The draw matters. All these different things matter. You can get a tough draw. You can get an easy draw. There's so many things that go into it that don't say who the best team is. Your league form is what says who the best team is. It does. And what he's done in the Premier League is absurd. Just absurd. Going on, if he gets this one, 3 titles in 5 years?
Yeah.
And the one he didn't get, he had 80-plus points, where he was second. And then the other one, I think they were third. I mean, insanity. The rest of the table is interesting as well. The biggest result of the weekend in terms of surprise was Fulham 2-0 over Everton on the road. I already yelled at Tom Russo about this because we've been having this back and forth. I keep saying that Everton fans need to have higher expectations, and I immediately after that loss get a message from Tom, see, this is why we don't. And I'm like, well, I mean, I can't really argue with you. It's unacceptable, and I think that Everton should be kicking themselves because they would be level with Liverpool on points if they beat a team that they should have beaten at home. They're still 2 games in hand. They still are 5 points out of the Champions League with 2 games in hand. Everton still is right there. And they should feel like they're still right there, and they should act like they're still right there. Fulham, on the other hand, they get a win. They've only lost 1 of their last 5. 3 of them are draws because Fulham is the king of the draw. Yes. They have pulled away from the bottom 2 of West Brom and Sheffield United, 13 and 11 points respectively. Fulham's on 18, 7 points back of Newcastle. Now, when you compare what they've done in the last 5, this is the value of a win. Newcastle has lost 3 times in their last 5 games. Fulham's lost 1. Newcastle has as many points as Fulham because Fulham has 3 draws. They got 2 wins. Over time, you win more, you're going to get these points in bigger stacks. Newcastle should be okay. I feel like talent-wise, it's not even a comparison between the two. Manager-wise, it's not either on the opposite side. It's just Newcastle still acting like they're a small-time, nothing team, and they're not. And I'm sorry, Alex Bassina, as usual, and any other Newcastle fans out there. I always apologize to the Newcastle fans. But they don't have anything guaranteed. Newcastle's got nothing guaranteed. They should not be in this position based off the talent they have. They've got 2 wins in their last. Yeah, because the last 5 they won 2, but then they lost 3 before that, so it's not good. And here's what's coming up: they go to Manchester United, they host Wolves, they go to West Brom. That's one that Newcastle's got to win. They host Villa. They go to Brighton. Maybe you can steal a point there. Yeah. They host Spurs. They go to Burnley. It's another one you need to at least hold serve with. Yeah. Then you host West Ham. You go to Liverpool. You host Arsenal. You go to Leicester. You host Manchester City. When you get into late April, Newcastle's in trouble. Yeah. They finish, though, and this is going to be key, I think. They finish their final 2 hosting Sheffield United, which should be 3 points. And they go to Fulham on the final day. Mm-hmm. They don't want it to come down to that. It maybe will. It shouldn't. It should not. But you go through it and play the game. Shouldn't get any points at Manchester United. Wolves hosting them. A point? I'll give them a point.
Okay.
I'll give them a point going to West Brom. I don't know if they can beat West Brom with Steve Bruce and Big Sam trying to make me injure my head with banging it against the wall over and over again to not have to watch that game.
Is that 2 points so far?
No, I got 2 points. Okay, I got 2 draws, 2 points. They host Villa. Nah. They go to Brighton. I'll give them another point.
Okay.
They host Tottenham. They go to Burnley. I'll give them another point.
Okay.
They host West Ham. Nope. They go to Liverpool. Nope. They host Arsenal. Nope. They go to Leicester. Nope. They host City. Nope. They host Sheffield United. 3 points.
Okay.
And that, going into the final day, gives them what?
7 plus current total.
7 plus the current total.
25.
Math, 32, right?
Oh, sorry, other team. Sorry, 25 and I was going the other way. 25 and 7, 32.
I thought you were just trying to not get the answer wrong.
No, because I've got Fulham's grid up, and that's where I was focused.
Yeah, I thought you were just trying not to get the math problem wrong, which would have been funny. I know I DM'd him. I wanted to double check. I was adding that one up in my head. All right, let's go to Fulham and what they've got coming up left here to finish the season. I got it. They go to Burnley. Fulham's the master of the draw. I guess that's a draw, right?
But it's at Turf Moor, so I'll go no.
Why did you agree with Newcastle getting a point at Burnley but not Fulham?
I'm still Burnley for me is running hot these days, and so I was kind of agreeing with Newcastle, but not necessarily Fulham. It's just I could see both teams not getting a point at Turf Moor.
Burnley's
just because of Burnley's form.
Burnley's 2-2-1. That's hot
for them.
Fulham hosts Sheffield United on February 20th. That's 3 points.
Okay.
So I got them with 4.
Right.
They go to Palace.
I got a point.
Yeah, I do too.
Palace is awful.
Yeah, Palace is bad. I think Fulham can go and get a point there.
Yeah.
Fulham goes to Liverpool. Nope. They host City. Nope. They host Leeds. Nope. They go to Villa. Nope. They host Wolves.
I'll give them a point.
Yeah, I'll give them a point there. They go to Arsenal. No. They host Spurs. No. They go to Chelsea. No. They host Burnley. I'm giving them 3.
I give them 3 there.
I'm giving them 3. They go to Southampton.
Recent form?
Horrendous.
I'll give them a point.
I'll give them a point. Then they go to Manchester United, nothing. So what does that give Fulham going into the last day?
That is 10 points heading into the last day. So there's still
28. They're still 4 back.
28.
So they got to find something. But that's how close it can be.
Yeah.
They got to find something. And Pacine is already... Brighton and Burnley are only a point above Newcastle. The bottom of the table is very crowded. Brighton's actually not lost in their last 5. I think Brighton's going to be okay. I'm not sold on Burnley. John thinks Burnley's in the great turnaround. Burned breaking out the expected points table. Fulham is 2 points ahead of Newcastle with 1 game less played. He says they're the better team. I think they're the better team in avoiding losses in this scenario.
Yes.
And is that going to be enough? We just went through it very quickly, glancing at games and form. And that put them, in my mind, 4 points back going into the last day. Can Fulham find another point there at least, or 2? Yeah, they can. Can one of those draws turn into a win? Yeah, it can.
And they're also 3 goals better in goal difference than Newcastle at present.
Yeah. So, then if it's level, and they host on the final day. They host Newcastle on the final day. Alex, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but it's very dicey for your boys. I'm sorry. I apologize profusely. But, yeah, it's not good. They should be okay. They should. They shouldn't be worried about this nonsense. They're a better team, I think, on paper. They're not performing like a better team, and I'm not exactly sold on Fulham, but they're pretty close. It's going to go down to the wire, in my opinion, and them playing on the final day, that could be a definite game to watch. It's Coco M says, should Miggy ask for a transfer if they do get sent down? Yep.
Yeah.
Along with most people on that team. And a lot of guys, and I don't know Miguel's contract situation, a lot of guys have an out clause kind of thing when teams get sent down and push it. So we'll see. But yeah, he should be asking for a way out if Steve Bruce is going to be back. That should be what it hinges on. If I'm Miguel Almiron, if I'm in the second division or if Steve Bruce is back, I'm out.
Yep. One other thing to keep an eye on for Fulham: Alexander Mitrovic tested positive for coronavirus.
Mm-hmm.
He was not around for the win against Everton. Josh Maja was the one who scored the brace to give them the boost up top. But keep an eye on Mitrovic's health going down the stretch.
How important has Mitrovic been? Really?
He's this season. He's been.
Yeah. So. Oh no. Maybe that's why they went out and got Josh Maja.
Yeah. Who has done far better.
Just saying. Maybe a little bit of that. Let's get into Chelsea for a little bit. Domer will be very happy about this. You shared a article in our notes on Thomas Tuchel and at Sky Sports. He is not there to be loved, eh?
No, he is not. And it was a really good deep dive on him and his style, and it also discussed what it's like to be separated from his family during COVID-19 right now. But he said, here's a couple of the key quotes here. He says, just because I'm trying hard to be kind to you guys, meaning the media, doesn't mean that I'm trying too hard and that everybody loves me in the dressing room, because this simply does not exist. It is not necessary. But in a moment where I'm happy, I can tell them also that I'm happy with their attitude, their performance, and the atmosphere in the dressing room. There's no harm in that. I don't hold it back then. Can I be a shouter? Yeah, of course, if it's absolutely necessary. But I can be totally emotional, and I can also totally be a shouter if I feel this is the minute to do it and to surprise. If you do it all the time, then no one would listen
100%.
Because it becomes a habit, so everybody gets used to it.
Yep. If you just yell all the time, you get tuned out eventually. And that's something that I think the best managers figure out. They know when to use that feature. They know when to do it and to get the attention that you need to get. If you're just screaming all the time, no, you're going to turn people off.
Yep. And so I thought it was a real interesting look into Thomas Tuchel and what he's up to at Chelsea right now. So it's on the Sky Sports website, and I'll post it in the Discord if anyone is interested in taking the deep dive into Thomas Tuchel as well.
Excelente. Let's see. So this, I believe, is audio from Thomas Tuchel after the win today, very comfortable win, and says that the challenge of finishing top 4 is still a big one. This is from Football Daily.
Thomas, because we can see the rain is coming down there. You're into the top four. Well, good to hear it. You're into the top four again for the first time in 2 months, actually, for Chelsea. Is that the target, or are you looking even beyond that?
Sure, this is the target, and this stays the target. There are many teams behind us chasing us, but we had many points to recover when we started, and it stays a big challenge because there's many games coming. We still play teams from the top. We play teams from the bottom. Like every game is a difficult game, and we will keep on fighting. But the results were like this, that we knew that we can do a big step also for our confidence at the very end of this day in Premier League. And maybe you could feel it also that suddenly the team felt a little bit like we have something to lose and we don't want to give it out of our hands, instead of thinking up what we can earn and what we can still more create for us. So this was maybe the whole situation, but I'm very happy that it was a big step, psychologically a big step, and it was a good run so far, but we have to continue. It's still a long way to go.
The psychological aspect has been the biggest thing that has looked different for me with Chelsea. He has tweaked some things, obviously, on the field, but they just look like a team that actually believes in themselves. And they did not towards the end of the Lampard era. They just didn't. Tuchel, and we talked about it a lot when he was ousted at PSG and when his name started to come up with places. Burned echoes that, nobody loves Thomas Tuchel. Nobody. Everybody was like, he's a bad guy. He's bad. He's a bad guy. He's a bad guy. Well, what'd he do? What'd he do? He's a bad guy. Bad guy. Great tactician. I think he's a great coach. It will blow up at some point. It blows up for everybody at Chelsea. I mean, it blew up for Carlo Ancelotti, who's like one of the nicest guys you can find. So that part, well, maybe he's in the right place because it'll blow up no matter who you are. He can still get the job done, though. And if he delivers Champions League next season for Chelsea after the way this year was going, I think Chelsea fans will be okay with him. I think they'll be pretty happy with him. And can he then push further forward next year? We'll see what the rosters end up doing, because Chelsea's linked with a whole lot of things for next year, which I don't know how, because they did a whole lot of things this year, and I don't know how all of it fits together, which leads me to a player that you guys know very, very well, in Christian Pulisic. Now, under Thomas Tuchel, I think most of us figured, well, okay, he knows Pulisic. He had him at Dortmund. All is good. He's played 84 out of a possible 450 minutes since Tuchel took over. Should U.S. soccer fans, should Greg Berhalter be freaking out?
Freaking out, define your term. I mean, right now, he's just not a part of what's winning for Chelsea. I mean, you look at the lineup, and obviously with the injury to Tammy Abraham, you don't know how serious it is and how long he may or may not be out. But Giroud had to come in on the 20th today. And so you were looking at Timo Werner, who got on the score sheet. You're looking at Giroud or Abraham. You're looking at Mason Mount. Then Alonso coming up to the left. We see how active he's been. Same with Callum Hudson-Odoi and how active he is on the right-hand side. In the middle, it's Kovacic and Jorginho. So right now, that's what is getting results for Thomas Tuchel and for Chelsea. And so I'm looking at it as right now, that's what's getting you results. You ride that. And if that's your front seven, if that's the seven guys that are in pursuit, then go with what's winning. And I don't think you're going to break form. Freaking out? No. But right now, he and Hakim Ziyech are not a part of the discussion, and it's because they're winning.
They've rotated a pretty good bit, though, and they haven't rotated Pulisic into it. That's the part that's a little concerning, I think, and it has to be. As just to, okay, well, why isn't this guy seeing the minutes that some others are? You know, I mean, he started in FA Cup against Barnsley. I believe that's the only start he's had under Tuchel. Didn't see him today. We go back to the Sheffield United game in terms of the lineup, and it was Mason Mount and Timo Werner in those spots where I would see Pulisic. I mean, he's going to play one of the two. If you're going to call it a 3-4-2-1, he's going to play one of those attacking two. And if you've got Mount, if you've got Werner, Ziyech, Havertz can play in those spots. I mean, that's a lot of competition. Mm-hmm. And Byrne brings up a good point. And Mount we'll put to the side for a minute. Mason Mount's been excellent. So Mason Mount, there shouldn't be a problem. What was one of the biggest problems with Frank Lampard's time, according to the media and probably according to the board at Chelsea? Getting nada out of Timo Werner, getting nada out of Kai Havertz. They spent a lot of money on those two. They spent a lot on Christian Pulisic too, by the way. But somebody's got to sit. And if Mason Mount's performing the way that he has been, he's got to play. And if it's Werner, then okay, you're going to play him. You know? I mean, and Byrne, again, makes a good point because Byrne often makes good points. You kept adding people in those spots, and you already spent a lot of money on Pulisic. Yep. And Pulisic delivered. I mean, that's the thing, is Pulisic has done well at Chelsea. But then you went and added Timo Werner too. And I don't know what the thought was, if there was one, other than you're in the line at the checkout and you see something you like and you buy it.
Yep.
Because, I mean, can Timo Werner play up top? Well, you have Olivier Giroud there. You have Tammy Abraham there. I mean, what are you going to do there? You've just added pieces to add pieces to add pieces into the same spots, and somebody's going to get pushed out. I didn't expect Pulisic would be the one at this point because I thought he'd at least get an opportunity under Tuchel because of the history, but he really hasn't. And the question's going to come up in the summer. Should he go on loan somewhere? And I think a lot of times when this comes up, you know, it's like, oh, well, it's bad. He's got to go on loan to some small team. No. I mean, he's at a big club. He could go on loan somewhere in Europe to a big club, potentially. I do believe he has an EU passport. I'm not 100% sure of that, but I believe he does from his father. If he does, then that can help him, because then he could go wherever. And big clubs should be looking at bringing in Christian Pulisic on loan. What are teams doing right now? They're bringing in a lot of loans, right? In the summer, if it stays like this, he's got to go. He's got to go somewhere. He's got to go somewhere and play. Because you're going into World Cup qualifiers in the fall. You need him playing. You can't have him come in after riding the pine for 3 games and then try to have form when you're playing against Mexico and Costa Rica in these games that matter. If it stays like this, him and his people got to force a way out. And it can be a loan. It can be a loan for the next season. It can be a 6-month loan with an option to extend it. Whatever you want to do to configure it, that's fine. But he needs to be playing from a U.S. perspective. He has a Croatian passport. Thank you, D. Graham. I was almost positive that he had that. So that doesn't prevent any issues with anything. So he could go anywhere. He could go to La Liga. He could go to Serie A. He could go back to the Bundesliga. He could go to France. I mean, go to a team who could use a player like that, and there's quite a few. There's a team who doesn't have a whole lot of money in Spain called Barcelona that, hey, you want to go to Barcelona? That'd be kind of nice. I'd be down with that. Got to figure something out. And I think he's going to have to get to that point if it stays like this. There's still a lot of games to be played this season. So my question was, should people be freaking out? No. Should they be watching like a hawk? Yes. Mm-hmm. Because the trend is not good in this situation. No. And he's got to play. Badger says, I worry about Pulisic's fitness. He seems to get hurt a lot. Yeah, I mean, he's got issues on the hamstring side, and I don't know if he's just one of those guys who has that. Some guys do. Some guys just, they're going to play 5 and then they're going to get hurt for 2. Some players, that's just their body. I don't know if it's something in training. I don't know if it's something in not playing regularly. I don't know if it's something that they can do differently. That it needs to be explored because it is a concern. I don't think that's the issue right now at Chelsea. I don't think that's the problem. He's got to find playing time. And if that means he's got to go somewhere else for next season, he's got to go somewhere else. He's just got to.
Yep. Just keep an eye on things for the remainder of this season. And when you head into the summer, if right now what you're seeing is the same thing, he's got to go find a place to play.
Yeah. Okay. So England, Manchester City's got it unless they give it up. That's where I'm feeling with the title.
Yep.
Germany, I would have said that going into the weekend. I would have said that going into this match week. Now, I mean, Bayern's still in the driver's seat, no question about it, but they fell down 2-0 and 3-1 to Bielefeld today, who's in 16th place. Now, it's their first game back after the Club World Cup. They did come back to get a point out of it, but they've only got a 5-point lead over RB Leipzig. I think the door has been cracked open at this point. Leipzig won on Friday, 2-1. Beyond that, you've got Eintracht Frankfurt, who won over the weekend. You've got Wolfsburg, who drew with Gladbach. They're level on points on 39 in third and fourth. That's the final Champions League spots. Leverkusen is 3 points behind them in fifth. Dortmund is 3 points behind Leverkusen in sixth. Gladbach is also level with Dortmund on points. They're in seventh. And now, maybe one of the worst-kept secrets of German football, Marco Rose is going from Mönchengladbach to Dortmund next season. He's going from seventh to sixth.
Okay.
We'll see if he fits. We've talked about it before. His game is not necessarily what Borussia Dortmund wants. Not necessarily that. Now, Bert brings up a question about Christian Pulisic. They could use a left wing, especially when Jordan Sancho goes to Manchester United. Wink, wink, haha. But seriously, Pulisic and Burns says would do well in Serie A. Would he do well back at Dortmund? That would be an interesting one. So I don't know. I'm wondering how this works. I am. I thought Dortmund should go in a different direction. We'll see if this works out. Now the question comes up about who replaces Rosa at Gladbach. And the names that were bouncing around, one of them, Jesse Marsch.
Mm-hmm.
Jesse Marsch was at one point linked with the Dortmund job. Now you've got Red Bull Salzburg's manager, Jesse Marsch, potentially going to Borussia Mönchengladbach. Would love to see that. Also, and this has come up a couple of times, Erik ten Hag from Ajax reportedly had been contacted, and he said he hadn't been, and it's kind of back and forth. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Is Jesse Marsch going to get that jump now? He might.
Yeah.
If Mönchengladbach comes calling, I think he takes it.
Oh, yeah.
I think if Dortmund had come calling, he would have taken it.
Yep.
Anybody else, I don't know. I guess the question for Marsch would be, if you're thinking long term, Julian Nagelsmann is going to get a big opportunity somewhere from Leipzig. That's in the family. Do you just move over from Austria to Leipzig? And are you thinking that? And have they told you that? Because that could get really, really interesting. He's going to have some opportunities, though. And if it's not Gladbach, it's going to be somebody soon. Jesse Marsch will get an opportunity in the Bundesliga with a fairly top team.
Yeah, and I'm with you. I'm wondering about some kind of a succession plan inside Red Bull family. If Jesse Marsch has been told about those kinds of things. But no, I would love to see Jesse Marsch in the Bundesliga if there's something that comes available, whether it's in the family succession or otherwise. Jarrett Smith has joined us, so I will ask Jarrett the question. What do you think about Jesse Marsch and the Bundesliga, sir?
I think it's hard to sneak up on a show when I get called out. I was waiting for a good opportunity. It's like waiting in the rafters, and then someone hits a switch backstage that drops you on the stage. Man.
Oh, so you're like Sting now. You're like Crow Sting is what you're looking at here?
It's like Crow Sting, but except it was that gimmick where there were like 45 stings that came out of nowhere.
Oh, the Sting Army. Yeah, the Sting Army.
Yeah. The Sting Army bit, where I think it was Buff Bagwell hit the real one and did the pose, then got hit with the death drop. As far as getting to more pertinent things, as far as Jesse Marsch is concerned, how patient are you with that potential gig at Leipzig? Now, how long do you want to wait? Do you worry about your star kind of not necessarily burning out, but how long do you wait for it to like figure out when to pull the trigger? When do you sell your stock? When you're when's the right time to do that?
I don't think you're gonna have to wait too long. Like, I think Nagelsmann will get an opportunity somewhere. I mean, his name's coming up with like Real Madrid kind of jobs. So, I mean, when that starts to happen, who is that guy right now? For the longest it was Pochettino. He's booked up now. Then it was Tuchel. He's booked up now. I mean, Max Allegri's been there before both of those guys, and he's still out there. So, I mean, is he even that guy anymore? I don't think he is. I think Nagelsmann could be the one that if a big job opens up, his name's going to come up. And Real Madrid's one that could open up. Real Madrid could very well open up this summer. Zinedine Zidane seems like he's over it. Everybody on his team's getting hurt. The board doesn't know if they want to support him or not. It doesn't look like they're going to have Sergio Ramos back. Looks like they got a lot to figure out with that roster. They got Gareth Bale coming back to take up a non-EU spot now and take up most of their salary budget because they can't find anybody to get rid of him. Well, they're stuck.
Dan, that's just such a bad decision.
It's bad. And now Brexit is messing with Real Madrid. Like, Brexit is messing up Real Madrid's strategy with Bale now because now he counts as a non-EU player. So it's just gotten worse.
I just like that Gareth Bale is to the point where he is like ruining multiple major teams in Europe just by existing.
Pretty much.
His entire existence is like cutting the hamstrings on two clubs in Europe now. And we're past the point of the Gareth Bale who like was winning you Classico matches and European titles. We're past that. Now he's just there like, ruining things for you.
It's bad. It's very, very bad.
It's embarrassing. To me is what it is. Like and you know what? Maybe the money makes up for it. But for me personally, like I would be like, it would kill me to have my legacy turned into that guy who is like hamstringing multiple teams.
Yeah. It's official. Sebastian Becasese is back at Defensa Justicia.
I was wondering if you were going to bring this up.
He is back. Crazy the run for this guy. So he gets them to second in the league and gets them into the Libertadores and starts the run that ends up winning a Sudamericana. Then he goes to Independiente and is bad. Then he goes like literally across the street to Racing, beats Independiente in one of the craziest games I've ever seen. Ends up walking out with his sporting director who's leaving because Racing was an even bigger mess than Independiente was. And then it's like, well, okay, where's he going to go? Is he going to go take this Chile job? Oh, no, that didn't happen. Is he going to go take one of the 57 different Brazilian jobs that seem to pop up on a regular basis? No. He goes back to Defensa, where it's in a very different place than it was before. I don't know how different financially it is, but you're talking about a job with more stature than it was when he took over. And he's still very young, and he's obviously beloved at Defensa Justicia. So, really interesting one. Like, normally I think you'd look at this as a step back, because he's going back to a place that he left to go to a bigger place. But the place that he went back to is now a bigger place. So, I don't know.
John, help me with this. Is this like if Dennis Franchione had gone to Auburn and then proceeded to beat Bama?
No, because it'd have to be somebody who left a place and then went back.
Yeah, it would have to be.
Well, he'll never be allowed back in the city of Tuscaloosa.
Oh, no. He's probably still got like people out looking for him. It's bad.
No, I'm trying to think of.
I watched small children flip that man off.
It's true.
Children that weren't alive.
I can't even think of a situation like this where You leave to go get a bigger job. The bigger jobs don't necessarily work out, and you go back to the place that you elevated, and it got elevated even further to where now it's a better job than it was when you left it. I don't know. It's a pretty unique situation.
Wow. That's a good one. I'll have to think about that.
We will debate it, and we will come up with something for tomorrow morning's show. We'll come up with some kind of idea there. Okay. So the other thing in Germany that I wanted to mention, Four-Card mentions Petrino back to Louisville.
True, yeah.
Was Louisville much bigger than they were when he left, though?
No, not
I don't
really.
think so.
Yeah.
That's a good shot. That's about it. That might be as close as you get, though.
Yeah, I think
that's
that's
a damn good
close
shout.
as you
Except
get,
Sebastian Becasese didn't make Arthur Blank like almost shake with anger. And I've never seen that man angry.
With anger.
I've
other ones
never
that come
seen
to mind
that man
are
angry.
Bill Snyder at Kansas State.
Kind of the same, though.
But they weren't better the second time around, though, when he came back.
It's a tough spot. It's a weird spot.
It is a weird spot. I mean, it'd be like if Gus went back to Auburn.
They don't want him now.
I can't believe he just took a job in Orlando, man. You're sitting on $20 million.
Yeah, you're sitting on 21.5. Yeah, I'll go to UCF.
Dummy.
But it would be like if Auburn became a perennial national title team, which again, Gus has a title as an offensive coordinator and damn near won a title as a coach. With a converted defensive back because UGA doesn't know how to do their job apparently.
No.
And despite all of that, it'd be like if this new guy comes in and has Auburn as a perennial contender, and then Gus goes back.
Domer
like
screaming in the Twitch pitch, by the way.
And if Auburn had won the SEC 3 years in a row, and then they brought Gus back, that's the closest thing I can think of now off the top of my head.
I don't know. We'll talk more about
beautiful.
it tomorrow once we know a little bit more. But Defensa was one of the more impressive teams in the first week of the Copa de la Liga with a 3-2 win. Looked pretty good in doing it too. We'll get into that a little bit more as we go. Let's finish up the Big Five in Europe before we get into MLS because we got a lot of MLS stuff to talk about. So we're going to kind of burn through this just a little bit. We'll talk more about it tomorrow as we talk Champions League tomorrow as well. Bayern Munich, a player we talked about. It's kind of funny. We mentioned it on Friday's show, and then later in the day, the word came out that Bayern Munich is adding Dio Upamecano from RB Leipzig. They are activating that release clause, 42.5 million euro. He's coming over. Really good young player. And this is what Bayern does. The good players come up in the Bundesliga, and they say, yep, I like you. You're going to come over here and play for us. Oh, you're good too? Cool. Come on, let's go. That's what they do. And they recruit within the league, and they just keep building and keep getting better. And we will see what Hansi Flick does the rest of the season. He's got a little work to do because now that door is open in Germany. The best race this season is in Italy, a league that hasn't had a race in a long time. Inter is now in the top spot in Serie A, 3-1 thrashing of Lazio at the San Siro. Lukaku with 2 goals. He had an assist on Lautaro Martinez's goal. They're in first. Milan slipped. 2-0 loss at Spezia. Inter's leading by a point. They play each other this upcoming weekend. Good times. Roma's in third.
I can hear Nick vibrating with anger from here.
I should be. They lost 2-0 to Spezia. That's horrible.
Across the city, I can feel him vibrating in anger.
They lost 2-0 to Spezia. That's horrible. And Zlatan hasn't been punished for racist comments to Romelu Lukaku, and that's also horrible. And yes, it was racist, Zlatan. Mm-hmm. Just because you think you're clever and you think you're funny doesn't mean you weren't racist to Romelu Lukaku. It's embarrassing that you have not been sanctioned for that. Roma's in third, 3-0 win over Udinese. Jordan Vertout with 2 goals. Juventus falls to fourth, 1-0 loss at Napoli. Gattuso's side, Gattuso could be somebody who's on the outs at the end of the season. They're in fifth on 40 points, and Gattuso's fighting like he always does. His team's got a ton of spirit. I really hope it works out for him. That's a huge win to beat Juve. Lorenzo Insigne's goal was the difference. Atalanta's on sixth with 40 points. They got a late winner, 90th-minute winner from Luis Muriel at Cagliari. Lazio's also on 40 points after their loss to Inter. So you got 3 teams on 40 in 5th, 6th, and 7th. You've got Juventus in 4th, We got Roma in third, and then 1 point separating Inter and Milan at the top. The other end, Torino they've drawn 5 in a row. They are the Fulham of Serie A, and they've got a 2-point cushion from the relegation spots. Cagliari, Parma, who is trying desperately to stay up under their new ownership, and Crotone. Those are Cagliari, Parma, and Crotone are the 3 going down right now. Torino's got 2 points. They're on 17, Cagliari 15, Parma 13, Crotone 12. Spain, nothing really changed. Top 5 teams won over the weekend. It is what it is. Atleti's got a 5-point lead, but they've got 2 games in hand. They had some work to do. Former NYC midfielder Yangel Herrera scored for Granada to equalize, and it took Angel Correa a goal in the 75th minute for Atleti to win that. Zidane keeps winning games. I mean, he's probably down to like 6 outfield players at this point. He's playing like 2 15-year-olds and a goalkeeper's playing left back, but somehow they keep getting it done. 2 first-half goals. Benzema and Kroos, they beat Valencia 2-0. Barcelona is killing it at the moment. Fourcard should be very, very excited. 5-1 win against Alaves. Messi had 2 goals and an assist. Trincao had 2 goals, and Griezmann had 2 assists. Barcelona is flying at the moment. Sevilla won 1-0 versus Huesca to stay in that final Champions League spot in 4th. Real Sociedad keeps the pressure on with a win at Getafe in 5th. France, real quick, is actually a really good race as well. Lille is on top. They have a 1-point lead over PSG. They drew scoreless with Brest on the weekend. PSG's won 3 in a row under Pochettino. 2-1 win over Nice. Moise Kean scored again for PSG. That's looking like one of the best moves of the current season, getting him on loan from Everton. I can't wait to see how that all gets sorted out. Lyon's only 3 points off the lead in 3rd. They lost on the weekend at home to Montpellier. They could have pulled even at the top if they had won that. Monaco is 6 points back. It's the tightest race of the Big 5 leagues, and it could have been even closer. Monaco was only able to draw this weekend. So if teams had actually done things behind Lille, you could have had a really close league. France is going to be fun down to the wire. I'm looking forward to it. Couple comments from the Twitch pitch, and we'll get any comments from the Twitters as we wrap up our European conversation. We got to talk about Scotland real quick with Jarrett, too.
Yes, we do.
Nick felt the disturbance in the force when I was talking about Milan. I appreciate it so much.
Yep,
Nick, are you with us?
Yeah, I jumped in. I felt the force calling to me. It said, you must call in and discuss this.
Well, I said 2 things.
Immediately.
I said Milan should be embarrassed losing to Spezia, and I said that Serie A should be embarrassed that Zlatan hasn't been sanctioned for his racist comments to Romelu Lukaku.
I will say this. I don't care what colors you wear. You say a racist comment, you need to be sanctioned. Don't care who you're with. You could be my best friend, you can be a family member. You pop off at the mouth and say something stupid, you should win a very stupid prize. And of all players, Zlatan should know better. As someone who grew up, if you keep in mind, he grew up in Sweden, and he's somebody who, with the last name Ibrahimovic, that's not a very common name there, and he felt, shunned and pushed aside and disrespected for his background. So if anyone should get how not to act in this situation, it's Zlatan. He should understand this. Even no matter what level of comment you think it was, he knows better, right? He knows better. So, absolutely, if he said it, he should be sanctioned. And you're not going to get any pushback from me on it. Look, Spezia is not – they shouldn't be terribly embarrassed that they lost to Spezia. I'll give you a couple reasons why. One, Spezia is a team that is better than their ranking. They essentially have a Serie B lineup. The manager, Italiano, has put together a masterful performance. Also, you have the new ownership bump. The Platek family's taken over. They're American investment bankers. When you have – and a lot of the team were expecting when the Americans took over that the Plateks were going to flush everyone out, and that's not what happened. They actually said, hey, no, we're going to keep the infrastructure here. We're just going to build. And I think that provided a tremendous bump to the team. And Milan was not ready for that at all. And Milan is also experiencing a problem with their depth. They are a team that is being completely rebuilt. So they have a lot of problems right now. There's a little bit of a challenge right now because they have some contracts that they're trying to work out. They're trying to work out Zlatan's contract. They're trying to work out Donnaruma's contract. And, keep that in mind. There's some distractions going on, and they're not used to being at the top of the table, man. This is where winners know how to win, and people who are new to winning find new and inventive ways sometimes to lose. And that's what happened in Milan this weekend. They found a new and inventive way to lose. I said at the beginning of the season that I think that this is Inter's Scudetto this year. I think we can pull tapes on that one. But at the same time, there are two schools of thought right now, and that is that this is the weekend that Milan blew their chance at the Scudetto, and that that there's no way in the world now that Inter can lose it. That there's two things that I'm really hearing, through social media, and I'm telling you, both are wrong. Inter under Conte is completely capable of blowing this. Just give it to the last 6 weeks of this, the last 5 weeks of the season, and just sit back and watch. He has a history of that, so it's going to be a nail biter down to the finish. But Milan has to straighten themselves out. I mean, Zlatan needs to handle whatever punishment he's going to get for the Lukaku comments.
No, he's not going to get any. They're already well past it. He's not going to get any. I don't think he gets any. I think he charms his way out of it. It's embarrassing for Italy. One benefit of not having any fans in the stadium is we have largely had a very entertaining Serie A season without the idiocy. That's true.
And for Zlatan to mar that it's
he brings the idiocy. Yeah, not good.
Yeah, well, yeah, especially as a Milan supporter, you don't want somebody from your team to be the idiot.
Yeah,
but in this case, my team is the one with the idiot. So. Look, Spezia is going to be a team that you need to watch out for. And keep in mind, it's not that far from Cinque Terre. So Americans are buying up all of these clubs that are in the tourist zones. So Spezia is like a boat ride away from Cinque Terre. It's not too terribly far from Genoa. You have Americans in charge at Roma. You have Americans, I don't care if Rocco Commisso, he's probably going to want to fight me in the streets for saying it, but Rocco Commisso owns Fiorentina. That's in Florence, obviously. You have an American in charge at Venezia still. You have an American in charge at Catania down in Sicily. That's the eastern side's main airport. So if you fly into Italy, you're either flying into Palermo or Catania. So there's a lot of moves being made. And then Campobasso is now owned by Americans. So Spezia, obviously, it's in all the tourist zones. They're really, but I saw something that said it was like a quarter of the teams now are now owned by Americans in some way or another. And Juve is a subsidiary of Exor, which is owned by an American. So, say whatever you want, but the American money is really flowing into Italy right now, and it's very interesting to see how this is going to work out.
All right, Jarrett, before we move on from Europe.
In Scotland, today...
What did Rangers do now?
Rangers won a game, again. They've been good at
They've been doing that a lot, but what did they do after the game?
Oh, God, I didn't even see. Sorry, my weekend went to hell.
Oh, wow. Okay, I get to break news.
Sweet.
Oh, yeah, please.
Rangers are looking into whether any of their players breached COVID protocols after allegations members of the squad attended a party in Glasgow that was broken up by the police in the early hours of Sunday. 10 people were issued with fixed penalty notices after a gathering in Glasgow. Reports online claimed people in attendance included Rangers players. Premiership leaders Rangers said this on Twitter: Rangers are aware of an alleged incident which is subject to an internal investigation. We will make no further comment. 10 people were issued with fixed penalty notices for breaching coronavirus regulations. The Prime Minister is not happy. Daily COVID briefing, she said, I tell you, sometimes I feel that it's taking me all that's in my power not to stand here and use expletives whenever I get asked about football. I don't know yet. I've not been given all the details of the Rangers incident yet. I have no doubt that will happen when the details are clear. The club has said that they're investigating. Wow. Let me be clear. Whenever football rears its head in this situation, I get emails from people suggesting that I'm somehow in favor of or against one team or the other. That's not true. I don't care what club it is that's breaching the rules. If you're breaching the rules, you're in the wrong. It's so frustrating, not just to me or the government. I suppose that's not the most important thing, though believe me, it is really frustrating. But it's really unfair to the vast majority of people who don't have the privileges that elite sports people have right now. Therefore, when they see elite sports people breach these rules, and let's also be frank, the vast majority are not, but when a small number do, people think, why am I bothering? So can I say to football and sport generally, please make sure your house is in order. It shouldn't take me standing here to say to highly paid footballers that you've got to obey the rules. It really shouldn't take that. The fact that it does is hugely frustrating to me, and I don't care whether it's Celtic, Rangers, or any other club. It's not on. So please, stop breaking the rules. That is the Prime Minister of Scotland.
Nicola Sturgeon was pissed.
Talking about...
Nicola Sturgeon has been pissed for like months at this point.
Well, this is a new one.
Every time one of these happens, it calms down, and then right when the water starts to settle, the wave pool kicks back up again, and someone does something stupid.
Somebody does something asinine. And that's where we are now in Scotland.
What a plonker.
Why?
Yeah.
Why are they all plonkers, Jarrett?
I don't know. And here's the thing about it. I don't know that they're the only ones that are plonkers. They're just the plonkers that are getting caught.
Yes.
Okay, then let me rephrase. Jarrett, why are they the stupid plonkers?
Because I think it is a matter of just carelessness on their part, and the fact that Scotland might have just an obscene number of snitches per capita.
Oh, we're going to blame the snitches. That's the route we're going to go.
SEC, basically.
No.
When
The
it comes
snitches
to
are in the
recruiting.
right. They're still snitches, but they're in the right. I'm not saying the snitches are wrong, but people are, I recognize that guy. I watched him on TV, Mr. Sitter, the other day. Let's just take a picture of this, and we're going to send that on over.
Hey, Nick, who's got more snitches, Italy or Scotland?
Who has more snitches?
Yes.
Oh, Italy. Italy's we are a nation of haters. We will hate on you.
That's what I was thinking.
It's the haters' ball. We will hate on you until you have nothing left, until you have no pomodoro in the pantry, until you have until your wife is going to find out about your girlfriend. They're going to find out. Your kid's been shoplifting. All of it is coming out. Everything's coming out. That's why, especially in Sicily, you have a lot of people who give you the evil eye. So a lot of people ask about the origin of the metal horns, like the people who hold up the metal sign. And Gene Simmons, of course, will say he invented it, which is a complete fabrication. But Ronnie James Dio,
the god, speaking of real gods and not false gods.
That's correct. Ronnie James Dio, metal god. He's Sicilian. And he would hang out with his Sicilian grandmother, and they would be walking through the streets, and somebody would give grandma the evil eye, and she would throw up the devil horns, which is a way to ward off the evil eye. And so Ronnie James Dio remembered that and always broke it out. So, look, man, we are a nation of haters and snitches. I'm sure Scotland has a great many haters and snitches, but we have just eons of perfecting hating.
I think the Scottish players involved in all of these incidents and team staff and managers and everybody, they're just really bad at being sneaky. They're really dumb.
That's right.
They're just really dumb. Jared, I'm disappointed for your league.
But see, here's the thing. I'm having a hard time with this because do we reward snitching in this case? Because you're talking about the national good.
Yeah, it kind of, but what's going to happen is the same nonsense that happened last time because, we're going to get emails and we're going to get spam filters and we're going to get all kinds of really dumb things happening in Scotland as we get closer because everybody's going to be trying to come up with whatever underhanded way possible to keep Rangers from winning the title.
Yeah.
And it's going to get really dumb really fast. In this case, yes. It's good that Rangers players, if they were at this party, get popped and get busted, and if the team gets punished, yeah, they should. But in general, it's going to get bad real fast because it's going to get really petty, I think.
Hold up. Have we discussed news of our favorite club?
Yes. You missed it.
Okay.
It got the nuclear reactor sound. It was very good.
Yes.
It was very exciting.
I'm thrilled by this, by the way.
Yes, it is a good thing. It is a good thing.
And to your point about it, I mean, it's Scotland's just going to be dumb about it, and there is something beautiful about just how dumb they can be about it. And
beautiful is not the word I would have used.
Anyone who's decided that this is strictly a matter of Rangers is going to be punished and it's a conspiracy, is just not paying attention to the league, the fact that they've been the best team this year and self-deserve nothing more than to basically get kicked in the groin repeatedly until they're passed out on the ground.
Rangers have been the best team by far. Just get your house in order, as the Prime Minister tells you, and don't be so stupid and just see this thing out.
They're still going to be stupid. They're all going to be stupid.
They will.
Livingston went to a Tony Macaroni. They haven't won since then.
Yeah, you don't go to the Tony Macaroni. It jinxes you for sure.
Aberdeen has gone goalless in their last 5. They are still 4 points back of Hibs in 4th.
Thank you for the non sequitur, John. I appreciate it. I was going to bring Aberdeen up in 2 questions. First, since we have Jarrett, noted Celtic legendary fans, Jarrett. Rumor from BBC, Arsenal have reportedly been told they can sign Edouard for just £15 million. What do you think, Jarrett?
I think you take that and run with it if you're Arsenal.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Austin Edouard has, Edouard has been, out of form, fighting with his manager, allegedly unhappy about things, in a team that is just, Jason, you've watched them. They don't have a plan.
No.
As I try to search for a way to describe this.
No huevos. I mean, it's bad.
Yeah. He still leads the league in goals.
Yeah.
And he's been injured and out of form, quote unquote, and he still leads the league in goals. I never want to compare him to the King of Atlanta, but he has that, and I've said it before, he has that similar quality that you like to have in a guy like Joseph, in that when he gets in front of goal, everything just slows down for him, and it all happens in slow motion. He doesn't panic. He'll take the extra touch, and he just kind of puts it wherever he wants. He just has that skill that everything slows down for him that you want, I think, in a guy like that. Very crafty off the ball, can drop back and play hold-up play. Yeah, $15 million, go get him.
Oh, yeah. If you get that number, you go do it. And to go back to John's non sequitur, am I naive when I hear the Aberdeen chairman, Dave Cormack, and the club put out statements to say that they're giving Derek McInnes, their manager, the full backing? I feel like it's legit in this situation. I don't think it means he's there forever. I think for now, it means, he's getting the full backing. And if they don't get third, he might be out on the street in the summer. Am I being naive in thinking that it's a legit backing for now, at least?
I think it's a legit backing till the end of the year because they're not going to pay his possible buyout.
Yeah, that's exactly how I think.
Too much money to buy him out to bring in another coach. You don't have a David Martindale who, just was chilling out in jail and then was volunteering and worked his way up through the ranks of your club.
Not many people have that, no.
We don't all have a David Martindale sitting in the back pocket, and if you do, you need to talk to him.
Yes.
But you don't have that kind of guy sitting there. So I think it's a matter of, if he has their support through the end of the season, I think they're going to finish in 4th. I would have said 5th if Livingston hadn't dropped their last 2 games, but they've kind of cooled off a bit. I think they lost 3-0 over the weekend. If Livingston hadn't cooled off, I'd have thought Aberdeen might finish in 5th, y'all. Either way, I think you're in a situation where you're going to move on, because if nothing else, it feels stale, which is just so damn dangerous.
It does. It doesn't feel good. Couple things. Jarrett mentioned the dollar figures here. That's exactly why I agree. They're giving him the backing right now. Where
it's the same reason Neil Lennon's not going to get fired from Celtic.
Yeah,
they're not. They're going to give him a quasi triumph at the end of the season, God, he might get the job next year, and at that point, the fans might actually storm the gates.
Yeah, I think it's different. I think Neil Lennon somehow still is seen as a legend at Celtic, even though he's crapped all over the legacy that he's had there by not walking away when he ran this team into the gutter.
He's the only guy to manage and captain a Celtic team through to the round of 16 in Champions League. I mean,
that only goes so far.
He has tarnished the hell out of that reputation, but he hasn't destroyed it entirely, which is more of a criticism of the way people still prop him up versus, his attempts to destroy it.
I think he has, but I think he's really lucky that the fans have not been in the building this year, because I think it would have turned much more toxic if they were.
For a while, until they banned the Green Brigade for putting up a banner that would have gotten everybody kicked out of the stadium immediately.
Yeah, that's true. Last thing on Aberdeen, the financial component of it I think is huge. Cormac, in their statement, their cost of running the team, this is Aberdeen Football Club, 14.1 million million pounds, 14.1 million pounds. Wages to turnover ratio this season, 90%. Because you don't have much revenue. I mean, there's no turnover. There's no money coming in. So they're going to continue to run it as sustainable. I think him putting that out there, people should read between the lines that, look, we can't afford to fire him right now.
Yeah.
We just can't. That's just where it is.
You can't afford to fire him, and you're going to see him. He's going to see out the season either way, I think, because he has been a good steward for the team. It's just gone stale.
He has. It's different than Lennon, where I think he's run the team into the ditch. I don't think McInnes has. I think it is just stale. I think that's the best way to put it. For people who are watching the Copa de la Liga in Argentina, this is a pretty interesting match. Independiente and Lanús. You got two of the best young players in Argentina facing off right now, and Alan Velasco of Independiente and Pedro de la Vega of Lanús, who they have given the number 10 shirt to. I told you he'd get the number 10 shirt.
Future Atlanta United star?
Well, the last two number 10s ended up in Atlanta, so Pedro de la Vega is now wearing the number 10. He's got wonderful hair, and he's got a free kick right now from about 30 yards, and he's eyeing it up. He looks like he could be on the cover of Tiger Beat. Yeah, he put it over the bar.
He's definitely coming to Atlanta.
Yeah. He's different than I guess some of the other guys that have been fan favorites. In just he's younger. I mean, he's got the baby face a little bit going because I think he's 18. Incredible talent though.
That's fine. We brought in a 17-year-old who looked like he was 40.
Well, that's true. He's an incredible talent. So it's a fun game. It's close to halftime. 43rd minute, Independiente and Lanús are scoreless. There's probably been more people kicked and trying out for Mejores Patadas Twitter account than actual shots on target, but it's been entertaining. That's what happens in Argentina sometimes. We got a bunch of MLS stuff to talk about. We've got Atlanta United stuff to talk about from earlier today. Eric Remedi, who at one point was linked to Independiente, didn't happen, was linked to San Lorenzo, didn't happen. He is now a member of the San Jose Earthquakes. And I want to talk about the Quakes in a minute since we're picking on Jarrett tonight. We'll do it again with his San Jose Earthquakes. But Nick, if you...
Son of a...
I know. Nick, if you are still with us, Eric Remedi was a really good addition to this club in 2018. Mm-hmm. I don't think you win MLS Cup. I don't think you get as strong of a season in 2018 as you did because he had to play a lot straight away, walked in the door, made that spot his own. 2019 was really good for him. It dropped off, and it dropped off bad. It was really frustrating to watch this season. I thought his performances late in 19 and a lot this season were very inconsistent. But you get possibly, if whatever performance metrics are hit in this deal, you get $500,000 in GAM in this move. You happy with the way everything worked out with this move?
I am, yeah. 2018, Eric Remedi was a lifesaver for us. I think you're 100% correct. We're not winning the trophies without him. There was inconsistency. I mean, we just have to call it like it was. There was inconsistency, and he is a beloved member of this team, 5-stripe forever. At the same time, if you have the ability to move a player who has any period of steady inconsistency consistently inconsistent, then I think you have to make the move. You have to. And it's a total of 500. What is it? 200 up front,
200
and then
up
300 in escalators.
Correct.
I have no problem with the escalators on there. I really hope he makes it work. But I think it's a move you have to make, and I know a lot of people out there want Atlanta United to sign some players to, almost like Major League Baseball length contracts. That's just not how it works, unfortunately. So in our world, we have to move guys sometimes, and I think it's one of those moves that when we look back, that GAM's going to be just wonderful for us. So I have no problems with this move, especially considering the talent that's being brought in. So.
Okay, Jared, I got a few questions for you. Mile High 17 on the Twitch pitch says that performance from Remedi at New York City first leg Eastern Conference semifinal was the chef's kiss good. I think you went back and watched some of that performance recently, didn't you?
Yeah. So it's easy to say this now because we are years on from it. That game, when you go back and look at it, you can see like, oh yeah, that team's going to win MLS Cup.
Yeah.
Because they should have beaten New York 3-0 at least.
Oh yeah.
Franco Escobar misses a sitter. Off of and Atlanta was like running short corners and weird corner routines, and they worked great all night. Fight me, all of you.
I love the short
about your
corner.
hatred of short corners.
I hope Gabriel Heinze brings the short corner back. Let's do this.
Let's do it, baby.
I think he will too. It seems to fit his purview.
You have the one free kick that like Franco's on the end of it, and it's not dissimilar from the goal he scores in the MLS Cup, except he hits it with a square foot and just hits it across the face of goal instead of turning it in. You have Remedi's goal, which, by the way, Remedi's goal comes off of a reflection because Joseph Martinez hit one of the crispest volleys you will ever see out of the air off of a set piece.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
The corner comes swinging in, and he hits that thing like Tony Gwynn squaring up a fastball. And Sean Johnson just makes a great reflex save because he can't see it until the last minute. And then Remedi taps it in. Then late in the game, Maxime Chanot stops Joseph on a breakaway. He lays it off to Greg Garza, who hits a thunder bastard that Johnson leaps to make a save on. That game could have easily been 3-0. You had the goal also wiped away correctly, where Almiron hit the half volley that killed a few chipmunks on the way through, where it bounced high over Sean Johnson's head. You could have put 3 goals on New York in New York. As far as I'm concerned, like I look back, I'm like, yeah, that team was going to win MLS Cup. They went to New York and imposed their wills on New York City FC in New York. That should have been the key sign right there. For what it's worth, I will also argue that if you're going to go chef's kiss for Remedi, his magnum opus is the Orlando U.S. Open Cup semifinal.
Yeah, really different performance.
Different game.
Because
more advanced role.
Yeah, the form in the postseason in 2018, he showed his defensive qualities, and I don't think that was ever really the question with him. We knew what he could do when he had the freedom, whether it's in a pair in the holding midfield or with the other people around him, where he could kind of hunt the ball. That's his game, and he'll do well in San Jose in that style. But that game in Orlando, it's easy to forget it because of just the way the final went. A lot of that run went with Pity Martinez showing up so big in the Open Cup, with Brandon Vasquez's game, Open Cup hero Brandon Vasquez. But the game in Orlando where Joseph was hurt the day before in training, and he's at home watching it on the couch, I think eating empanadas, I'm not 100% sure, or chicken wings, one or the other. And Remedi is playing kind of a 10, sort of, with Barco and Pitti as like dual false nines. It was the most bonkers lineup. I remember we went so many different directions in what it could look like going into that, and then it actually gets on the field, and we're all like, what? And it worked. And Remedi was so massive to making it work in that game.
He was almost like a dive bombing 8, like where he was coming in.
He was a false 10, is what you're saying. So we had 2 false 9s and a false 10. Is that what it was?
Everything was
to go
false.
completely nerd hipster.
Coming from deep position.
Yeah.
Like, you look at all the runs he made in that game. You're like, he's not even in the picture. And then he comes up and takes the ball, and Orlando never closes him down once. They just let him run through.
They didn't expect
somebody
it.
should cover him.
Well,
no, not you. Oh, not me.
But that was the system. And now that I think about it, and I'll have to go back and look maybe at some others, that's the game. That might have been Frank DeBoer's magnum opus in Atlanta, was that game and getting that performance out of what he had to work with and doing it in a really unconventional way.
Yeah.
Because, okay, if you've got two false nines and you've got Remedi coming in and taking the space, if you're Orlando's holding midfield, you're completely baffled because the forwards you think are the forwards are not really forwards because they're dropping deep. And then the guy that you think is an 8 or you thought was a 10, he's coming from deeper and you're confused. People were running free because they couldn't ever pick anybody up because it was so strange. And it worked.
Yeah. And then you just get into the inconsistencies, as Nick said. The consistent inconsistency that we've had, and it's just if with all of the players who are coming in that are going to be getting looks, you've got a log jam there, and if you can send Eric Remedi to a place where you think that with the system currently in hand that he can flourish, and you're getting something in return. So it's like all these things check off for me. And so, I wish nothing but the best for Eric Remedi from everything that's gone on and where things are heading.
Well,
real quick.
Go ahead.
And then I got to bounce after this. But
okay.
Look, anytime you can move an asset, and the players' contracts are assets. Let's all be adults about this. Players' contracts are assets, and if you can move an asset who has been with you for the period of time that Eric Remedi has, you've gotten the value out of it already, and you're getting something in return. That's a good day, and the player's going to be happier because San Jose is not making this move unless he's expected to feature. And that wasn't necessarily guaranteed here, right? I think it's a win-win for both parties, and sad to see him go. Appreciate his work, but we're getting something out of it, and I think that's fantastic.
I think it's a little bit more than just the inconsistency. And look, we're going to dig deeper into this as we get closer and we get into preseason. We have some games to talk about and break down. The things that Gabriel Heinze is going to want out of this team are different. We knew they were going to be different than Frank DeBoer defensively because Heinze wants his team to play higher up the field. He doesn't want his team to drop and defend from a deeper position. So that's automatically a difference. It's going to be different than Tata Martino as well, and it's going to be different than what Remedi is going to in San Jose with Matias Almeida, who Matias Almeida famously is the man-to-man. When you're defending, everything reverts to man-to-man. Remedi will do well with that. He'll do fine. Where it gets difficult, and Byrne points it out, and I think going a step further with Heinze, he wants different things out of the midfield. He's not looking exactly man-to-man. Everybody's going to call it that. Trust me, they will. But it's not exactly that. What he wants, and I'm still trying to figure out the best way to explain it. The best comparison I have, and John, you can speak to this because you watched this guy in college, I'm assuming, Deion Sanders as a cornerback.
Yeah. Right.
What was Deion the best maybe ever at the position at? It was showing the quarterback enough space to make them throw the pass and then closing it and intercepting it.
Yeah.
That
masking
is
what? Yeah.
Go ahead.
Just absolutely masking his idea on coverage as he's looking at the quarterback and giving that space to the receiver that the quarterback sits there and he's being baited by all of this room that Deion is giving the receiver. Deion knows, though, that once that ball is thrown, he has the speed where he can close and he can pick it and go the other way. Reading the quarterback and baiting him into a decision, that's what Deion's been good at. Baiting
is the key word there. That's what you're going to see this team do a lot when they lose the ball. It's not Almeida style, grab the guy closest to you and close him down. You want more than that because think about it. And think about it from that perspective, if you're an American football guy. What's better? To be on top of the receiver in that situation, just take them out of the play. Sometimes you have to do that, of course. But take it out. So the quarterback has no option there. He's not going to throw the ball there. You're not going to pick it off. And we know in terms of turnovers and transitions in soccer, you're going to have more of them. So you step to everybody, you close them down really quickly. You're at a greater risk of getting burned, one, because if the guy turns on you and leaves you, you're dead. You want to know who you have, be close enough to where you can close the ground, but also far enough away to open up the pass. You want that person on the ball to say, I can make that pass. And then Santiago Sosa says, nah, and then they take off. Because what happens? Everything's wide open. So you're looking at a lot of that. That's not necessarily Remedi's game. Managing space, managing everything around you, not necessarily his game. The passing part is another issue, and he had a lot of bad giveaways, and that wasn't good enough here. And it was a problem, and it would have been a bigger problem with the way that they're going to play now. It was time. You get a return, as Nick said. It's critical. You take that return, you put it in the bank, you extend your cap a little bit. You've got more room to bring in a player like Santiago Sosa. We're expecting Franco Ibarra to be announced any time now. You're adding some players with different characteristics. It's not just, you're getting a younger Argentine central midfielder. They've got different characteristics, and they've got the characteristics that Gabriel Heinze wants with the way this team is going to play. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. There's going to be a lot of those little things that we'll get stuck into and explain and talk about.
The other thing they have that I love is something we didn't see enough of sometimes, which is we've been beat out of this press. What should we do? We should take that man's leg off to stop the breakaway.
There will be some of that, yes. There will definitely be some of that.
Because sometimes if you get beat on that press, you have to take someone's leg off. That's just how it goes.
Yep. Barcelona did it under Pep. Manchester City does it under Pep.
Since they started playing in the league.
Frank de Boer about lost his damn mind in Utah.
Yeah.
And if I remember
you can
right,
go watch that goal, and you can see Frank at the bottom literally having a heart attack.
And you never saw him emotional like that. He was irate. And I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, I believe might have been Eric Remedi who was the guy who should have made the foul.
I think you're right.
I'm almost positive that was the case. But yeah, that was one of the games that I will always remember Frank losing it on the touchline. You never saw it because he's begging for somebody to commit that foul to break up the play. And I think it was Remedi who got turned on, I think. Anyway, you make the move. It's not unexpected because you've already brought in Sosa. That deal is done. You're bringing in Franco Ibarra from everybody's accounts. I don't think anything has happened with the move. I think people are freaking out, which is understandable. He told radio in Argentina that he's going. He wasn't with Argentinos Juniors this weekend. He's coming to Atlanta by all accounts. I'd be blown away if it didn't happen. I think the question now is going to be, does Atlanta go out and get a center back? And now you've added $500,000 to your GAM amount. Maybe it gives you a little more flexibility here. Be very curious to see what they do and what kind of player they go get. Is it a left-footed center back like David Martinez is? Is it a younger center back, somebody who can grow? Because, look, you've gotten younger. Franco Escobar and Eric Remedi are not old guys. But you went out and you added a 19-year-old and a 21-year-old in those roles in central midfield. If you were to go get a center back, you were looking at a 23-year-old. You're going to be looking at a young team. Why? A young team is going to have the energy that this kind of style is going to require. They're going to be more malleable as well. And they're going to be more receptive to these things that Gabriel Heinze is going to bring to the table. Because he is going to ask them to think about the game in a different way. He is going to ask them to envision the game in corridors down the field, vertical alleys down the field, and be very intentional about where their positions are and very intentional where it fits in the team. It's going to be fascinating. I can't wait to see. Byrne says, do you think Atlanta will get a center back from within MLS? I mean, we went through it. I don't know if there's one off the top of my head who has the characteristics that I would go after. The one who could, but he's not lefty, and if you're looking for lefty, I think you're going to have to go outside the league. And you can go outside the league. You can go to Argentina and you can get a left-footed center back. There's quite a few different ones that you could consider. I'm not worried about that if you decide to go down that route. The one that interests me with the ability to play the way that I think Heinze wants is Pineda in Chicago. Really like his game, but then you're going to have to play him or Miles Robinson on the left side of that back line, which you can. If you decide that Mesa's not going to be that guy, and the fact that you're going to get Martinez makes you think that maybe that's the case. Again, young. You want somebody who's going to be open to these ideas. You want somebody who's going to be quick. You got to play a very, very high line, so you want somebody with speed. Pineda, maybe. I don't think Chicago would give him up, though. So yeah. I think you're going outside the league.
Yeah, I think that I'm looking forward to seeing how the roster continues its build between now and training camp. And I'm looking forward to seeing how all of these pieces, and the word malleable, how all of these pieces blend together and how it turns into this roux that you're building with all of these players that are coming in with the ones that are already here.
Dawn Star on the Twitch pitch asked about George Campbell. Is he a left or a right center back? I don't think about him as rigid. I don't think you need to think about it that way. It's been so long since I've seen George Campbell play. I hate that that's the case.
Yeah.
I'm almost positive he's right-footed, but I believe
very sure he's right-footed.
Yeah, that's what triggers.
But
I think in my memory, he always played in that season where he really saw a lot of minutes. He always played to the right of Wesley Dacos.
Are you sure about that?
I think so. That's what my memory is.
You might be right. Maybe I'm going back further. I thought he played on the left side of Kendall Edwards in the academy teams.
He may have, yeah.
I don't know if he's lefty or not. I don't think so, but I think he's two-footed, so I think he can do it. Byrne had him as a left center back for the Twos as well. That's what I remembered. I definitely remembered him coming up with Edwards on the right side. Byrne's just telling you you're wrong, Jarrett, first off, which is great. Byrne is bringing the fire in the Twitch pitch.
Possibly him. I mean,
I love
mostly that's a lot of me is a longing for Wesley Dacos' existence to re-enter my life, because Wesley Dacos was a lot of fun to watch. But
he was. He is at Motagua, though, and he's in the Honduran First Division, which is good.
Life.
He's good.
Live your best life, Wesley.
I'm
now
pretty sure.
Will find me Bienvenu Kanakimana.
He is playing in. Is he in Austria? I believe. I believe he is in Austria.
Yeah, he's at Pinzgau South.
Yes, there you go. Campbell is right-footed, thank you, but I think he's good enough to play on that left side with his feet. Anyway, he's very young. He's 19, but very young in terms of experience. That would be a big ask for him to step into it. Would love to see him have the opportunity to win it, but I think, just based off the chase of David Martinez, I think you're going to go look for a center back who has more experience. I mean, you're talking about in Martinez, a guy who just won the Copa Sudamericana. I think you're going to look for somebody along those lines here. That's my guess. If not, love to see where George Campbell could fit into it. I think Campbell will get some time. I think all these young guys will get some time if they earn it. So it's going to be exciting to see. I think we've talked the Atlanta United stuff I wanted to get to. I do want to jump into a couple of other little MLS things. One is a big deal down in Central Florida. Alexandre Pato is in MLS and broke all kinds of records in Orlando's social media and selling jerseys and all these different things. It was a huge deal. Pato's still a big, big name. It's a 1-year deal, non-designated player money. We know Daryl Dike is getting DDT'd in the English Championship these days. People are jumping on his back on corners and somehow getting away with it. I mean, it looked like the flipping DDT that you'd see AJ Styles do in old school like TNA wrestling,
or an old Oklahoma Bulldog from behind.
That's a completely different thing than AJ Styles. AJ Styles should come in and kick you in the face for comparing his flipping DDT to an old Oklahoma Bulldog that like a big fat guy would do.
Yeah,
AJ Styles is furious somewhere.
Quite the athletic move for the approaching from behind tornado DDT and compare it to the Oklahoma Bulldog. Yes, I know it is two separate genres that we're looking at.
Yeah, it's like comparing apples and kumquats. But anyway, Pato has signed a 1-year deal with Orlando. Dike is away for at least 6 months. You've got Tesho Akindele. You've got Mateus Ayas, who we didn't see very much of at all. Alvarado, I think, is a little bit more of an attacking midfield kind of role here, although some are trying to say he's in that forward mix. Pato, if it comes good, it's great for them, but I don't think there's really any pressure on it having to be a big, impactful signing.
I thought if this was, if you looked up low-risk transaction in Webster's dictionary, this for me would be that. If you take that contract and you use it as a picture, I think that there's, if it comes true, great business for Orlando. If it really doesn't, then you kick the tires on a non-DP deal, bringing in someone like Pato, and so we'll see. I mean, it was. Let's see how it lays out, and hey, you did a piece of business, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, hey, you kicked the tires and tried.
Jarrett, your San Jose Earthquakes now have Eric Remedi. I was going back and forth with one of our listeners, Dr. D, earlier today. Very excited about San Jose coming into the season, and I said, why? And it was because Almeida gets the most out of these guys. He's good with an underdog team, and I said, look, it's year 3. What is there left to get out of this group for Matias Almeida? Are they going to be better than 7th or 8th this season? Should they be expected to? Like, they added Eric Remedi. They added Chofis, who's got some issues of his own, coming over from Chivas. San Jose, are they going to the playoffs?
Oh, man. I don't know. You also lost guys who had contributed in the past, and I don't know if it's not that you didn't replace what those guys are now. I don't know if you've ever replaced what some of those guys were then, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like when those guys started to fall off, when some of your attacking talent that you have let go, your Vacos, your Danny Housons, and that's not to say that they're world beaters. They're functional players. They're good. They provide depth. They provide goals. And they kind of help hold the house together. I don't know that you ever replaced what they were then, because they started to fall off, and okay, now they're gone. That's fine. You're in a salary cap league. You got to make those kind of moves. You never replaced what they were when they were at their best for you. And this is 2 years on from that now. Whose fault is that? It's up for debate. Is Almeida's request for players unrealistic? Given his situation, has he and his team misfired on guys they want to bring in? Are the Quakes saying, "Hey, we're not going to spend that kind of money to bring those guys in. Here's what you got. Go to work with it." I don't know, but when I think about let's run through the West real quick.
I'll run backwards.
LAFC,
I'll run from the.
Who are they?
I'll run from the top. Sporting Kansas City, better than the Quakes.
Yep,
Seattle. Better than the Quakes, even with Jordan Morris off with Swansea and hanging out with Mindy Kaling these days. Portland, better than the Quakes.
Better.
Minnesota,
even without Seba.
Minnesota,
better.
Colorado,
That's Colorado's gonna be a fun team to watch this year to see if they can carry off last year to this year.
Maybe. I'm not as convinced. Dallas,
I trust Lucci.
Yeah,
and I trust that machine in Dallas to overperform more than I trust San Jose to overperform.
Yeah, I do too. LAFC, they won't be 7th this year.
Better.
Yeah, they won't be 7th. San Jose was 8th. Vancouver 9th.
No.
Probably not.
Until Vancouver actually isn't lighting their car on fire and pushing it down a hill actively, they're going to have to show me they cannot light their car on fire and push it down a hill for me to believe that they're going to be okay.
LA Galaxy?
They've been such a mess for so long.
Mm-hmm.
LA Galaxy, did they have 20 people on roster yet?
They do, barely, but they might be adding Christian Pavone back.
And see, that makes you, I think, in the conversation, but can you not give up 12 goals a game?
Well, and can Chicharito score? And that's the big one. He should. I mean, he definitely should.
This is some Greek tragedy that Chicharito waited like 2 years too late to come to MLS. And then he's just getting the doors blown off of him.
Maybe. I could easily see the LA Galaxy being more talented and better than San Jose this year. Real Salt Lake and Houston.
I could see them in the past. I'd have said with this team for LA Galaxy, I'd have said they're more talented. They won't be better. They have Greg Vanney. They'll be better.
Yeah, they should be. Real Salt Lake and Houston were the bottom two in the West.
Oh, man. Hey, someone tap the watch and look at Tab Ramos, please, and just let him know that he's on the clock.
Oh, that's harsh.
Wow.
I completely and utterly disagree with you on that.
You can't finish last.
Yeah, but you had all the nonsense with Ellis and Manotas, and are they in, are they out, are they leaving, are they back? And you've added some good pieces. Now, I think Houston could finish ahead of San Jose, to be perfectly honest. Sorry, Quakes fan.
I hope they do. I hope they do for Tab Ramos' sake, because if they finish worse, he's got problems.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm not saying he has to win the damn league and not get fired. I'm saying he has to not finish dead last. Which, to your point, yeah, they had a lot of stuff going on. But
I think he's there to build. I don't think they have the expectation of, like, quick fix. I really don't. I think he's there to build.
Hopefully. But, I mean, so I don't know if the Quakes, you run through all that, I don't know if the Quakes are better than the majority of those teams. And some of that comes down to San Jose spending. Mm-hmm. And some of that also, I think, has to come down to Almeida and his team. Not every team in this league can go out and drop top dollar, but you've got to go find deals. And you look at the best teams in this league, it's not just bringing in $15 million guys, $10 million guys, dropping $7, $8 million on a guy. It's going out and finding a guy who's a really good contributor for a TAM deal. You got to go find those, because that's what the best teams do, and that's what separates them a lot of times. You need to find your Eric Remedi, and you just got the Eric Remedi of this league. You have to go find your Eric Remedi, your guy who you get for low TAM numbers, maybe, a normal salary, who comes in and galvanizes things and puts you over the top. Because that's what the best teams do. It's not just the superstars. It's about finding those middle signings that made Atlanta so great, that made LAFC so great, getting Atuesta, getting a Latif Blessing, and figuring him out. San Jose has to do that.
What about Austin?
It's another interesting one.
Oh, God. I really want Austin to be good, too. I really want Austin to win all the games against teams in Texas this year, because I want to see what social media does.
Mm-hmm.
Give me a situation where Dallas can't beat Austin, and I will show you the most hilarious social media meltdown possible.
Oh, Texas soccer social media with the Texas derbies with Verde and Houston and Dallas. That's going to be a fun watch from the back.
I'm looking forward to this. I think Austin's going to be a fun team.
I think they are. I think they'll be a fun watch.
I think they could be a big
That's going to be an important distinction, I think, though, between being fun and good. I think they'll be a good team, but I don't think they'll be necessarily great. And I don't think that's like a grand failing on them. They came in at literally the weirdest time humanly possible to come into the league.
Do they make the playoffs?
Whatever happens.
Well, if it's Austin, doesn't it? Because you're supposed to keep Austin weird.
Yeah, that would keep Austin weird for sure. I can't even guess if they'll make the playoffs, man. Do you think they will? I mean, I
don't know.
I'm almost afraid to answer it because I don't know what it's going to look like on the field, and I know that's such a cop-out answer to give and such a weak answer to give. But.
Yeah. No, it's a valid one because we haven't seen Josh Wolf manage. So, I mean, you might have good talent on that team, and I think you do. I think they've done a good job building it, but we don't know how Josh Wolf's going to handle a spell where you can't find a goal. We don't know how he's going to handle injuries. We don't know how he's going to handle things. So that's a huge unknown. But we've talked about the East being so wide open, and it is. The West isn't far off. Salt Lake, I think, is going to get hurt because of the ownership situation just dragging on. They're going to be very meh. The Galaxy are going to have ambition and will be better than 10th place, in my opinion. Vancouver is actually starting to try to do some things, and they're being talked about doing some things, and the pressure is on Dos Santos. Yeah. Houston is building better, I think, and they'll be better with another year of Tap Ramos. Austin's going to come in and can be like Nashville last year for sure. San Jose is right there in the mix. They'll be a difficult team to play when they're at their best. And we went through the top 7 above them. I mean, the only two that I feel like are not going to be in the playoff mix, which means one of them probably will be, is Salt Lake and Vancouver. I think everybody else in the West is in play. And in the East, I don't know if anybody is out of it. I don't think there's anybody who I feel like is Salt Lake in the East. Like, Cincinnati went and got themselves a forward. They spent a lot of money doing it. If they get Lucho Acosta or they get Pity Martinez or get something sorted out with their number 10, Cincinnati will be a very interesting team. DC, and this is the stat that I wanted to pull because all the talk around the country and is rightly on Atlanta and Gabriel Heinze with it's going to be so different. It's going to be like Leeds. It's going to be like Bielsa. Losada, the new manager at DC, he came from Beerschot in Belgium.
Yep.
They are the first club in Europe's top 10 leagues whose league games have seen 100 goals. 48 scored, 52 conceded. Bayern's at 90, Monaco's at 89. I think Leeds is, around 70 or something? Maybe even a little bit higher?
82.
Oh, it's okay. It jumped up since last time I looked at it and totaled it.
82 total. In 20 and 40, 44, 42 against in 23 matches.
Beerschot and
what I'm hearing is we're going to get. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
What I'm hearing is from this is we're going to get the actual theoretical experiment of: do you want your team to win? Would you rather see your team lose 5-3 than win 2-1?
Yeah, you're going to see it with DC for sure. I mean, now again, the expectations are completely different because in Atlanta, that's fun and all, and everybody says that's the thing, but trophies are also the thing.
Yeah.
DC, yeah, I mean, long term, yes, trophies because that's what they were built on, and I think they will want that. But in the short term, they will enjoy this madness. I mean, and you've got some crazy scores like going back to January, going back to Losada when he was there. You had a 3-0 win, you had a 3-1 loss, you had a 3-0 loss to John's favorite team. Who is it, John?
Brugge.
Yes. 1-1 draw, 1-1 draw, 1-0, 2-0, 3-1, 1-0, a 3-2. I mean, then early in the season, like this is where it gets bonkers, okay? Maybe he got a little more pragmatic because when you went through a run of games like he did in October, the end of September, October into November, I'm just going to run through score lines for you. I don't even care who wins and loses. Oh, man. Was it worse even further back than that? Okay, so they started August 10th. First few games, a 2-1, a 3-1, a 1-0. They won their first 3. They just got promoted. Not bad. A 3-0 loss to Standard Liège. September's where things got incredibly drunk. I don't know what the Belgians drink outside of their wonderful beer, but they were on the harder stuff. Here's the score lines. 5-2, 3-1, 3-2, 5-1, 6-3, 3-2, 4-2, 5-5.
Wow.
I think the 5-5 draw gave him the vapors, and that's where it started to come back a little bit to like 2-1s. You know, a 5-5 draw. You went October 17th through November 7th. A 6-3, a 3-2, a 4-2, and a 5-5. Yeah.
Is that all?
It's going to be Atlanta, DC, DC, San Jose, Atlanta, San Jose. Woo! It's going to be some wild and wacky stuff.
Yeah.
Can I give a warning to this?
Sure.
As well to DC fans that the first few games might be ugly.
Yeah,
until
it might be a little
get
wacky.
Sorted out.
Yeah.
Once they figure it out, you could be in that situation where you're like, "Hey, we bought some. We went back in a time machine and got some Four Locos from 1998 at a Sitco down the street." But I mean, especially with as weird as the preseason potentially might be, I do wonder if maybe it takes them a couple of games to kind of figure it out, and maybe they get blown off the field once or twice, and then they kind of find their rhythm.
That's my
I wonder
guess.
if there's going to be a couple games where they just get absolutely blasted.
It's going to take them more than a couple games. They're gonna struggle at times this season because Julian Gressel can't play in that system. Sorry, he can't. He can't. We saw it here in Atlanta. The more that games opened up, the more he would get exposed defensively. Transition, hitting the pass, absolutely. You got to find a spot to play him. Maybe he plays a different role. Maybe he plays as more of a deep lying 8. I don't know. And he hits that ball coming out of the holding midfield. But then you're asking him to defend, and I don't know. I think Griffin Yao, Kevin.
I think it also takes away his ability to hit that wide ball early or hit that cutback, which is what he does well getting forward. But
that can still be on in transition. I think he can still have those. I just the defensive
I'm still worried
side.
about turnovers, and then all of a sudden, hey, your 8's over on the wing and just turn the ball over. Up the middle of the field's wide open like the Serie.
He's going to struggle in the system. Griffin Yao, Kevin Paredes, Moises Naiman, your young players will benefit from it. Steven Birnbaum and Frederick Briant are going to have some problems at center back in this. They're going to really struggle. Donovan Pines, I think, will do well, at least with the amount of ground he can cover. I wonder if Michael DeShields, the rookie from Wake Forest, who was a shock pick where DC picked him at 5, he is a technical player, and he's an athletic player. Is he going to be a guy who can allow you to play a higher line, or are we going to see Birnbaum and Briant start to get pushed out? Canals I worry about a little bit in the system, but then Flores and Moreno in space, okay, that can work. Jordi Reyna in space, okay, that can work. Ola Kamara, depends on what you're asking your number 9 to do. Potentially he can be all right if he puts in the work. I think it's going to take them a little bit more time to get it because they don't have the roster to go full loco.
Yeah.
And if they do, they're going to get exposed. Unless he just says, look, I don't care who you are. I don't care what we paid for you. If you don't fit, you don't fit. I'm going to play somebody else. We'll see. We'll see what kind of sway he has. But DC's going to be a weird one to watch with this whole changeover.
When do you start looking at strikers if you're DC, aside from a Ola Kamara?
You got Jordi Reyna, who can play up top. He can also play behind a striker. You've got some young guys, and I don't know what they have at striker coming up quite as well. I don't think you're looking for anything dramatic yet. I think if you're DC, honestly, you want to get Losada in. You want him to see what he has, and you want to make moves based off of that. I think they get active in the summer. I think they try to fix things in the summer. It's my guess.
Yeah, that'd be my guess.
Well, that's my guess with this. Independiente Lanús still scoreless. 20th minute in the second half. What in the bluest of blue hells is that, Jarrett?
Washing dishes, maybe?
Jeez. Explain yourself.
Come on, man.
Jarrett?
Yeah, I'm here.
Did somebody die?
No, someone was running water nearby, and I walked past.
That's good. Okay.
And I thought I had it muted. You're fine.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Look, this is the premium content that is paid for, sir.
No, I got the premium content that's paid for because thanks to our jefe de fútbol ecuatoriano, El Mataflow, and you guys who are on the Twitch pitch are going to get a chance to see this. We have the new kit as the Liga Pro is about ready to come back, and I'm excited about the Ecuadorian League. I got into it last year. It was a fun league to watch, and Nino Torres on Goal TV, if you are watching in English, he is a blast. Don't call him a hoot. You sound like you're in that Geico commercial with people who are not cool. He's a hoot?
He's a trip, man. He's
That's
a fun
better.
listen.
That's much better. There you go. We're getting it out of you. Man, Nino should come backhand you for calling him a hoot.
Hoot's a trip.
No, Hoot's lame. Hoot's also from 1952. Anyway.
True.
Liga Pro.
I used it in 8th grade back in the 1950s, yes.
Yes, it was old. It was passé at that point. Liga Pro's coming back, and Mataflow has shared with us the new kits of one of the underdog teams that I've taken a liking to, Mushuk Runa.
Okay.
They're kind of nice. So I'm going to flash those up on the Twitch pitch right about now. Just a little flash for you guys to see. I like the sublimated stuff underneath. It looks very, very good. But there's a really good roundup, and I'm going to have to subscribe to this newsletter that I have now found. I believe it is. Is it Roundup Pro? Are they only cover? Yeah, they are. Roundup Pro, new site. They've got a Substack, and they have your preview of the 2021 Liga Pro season. At Roundup Pro is your Ecuadorian, in English, it appears. So for those of you who are getting accustomed to all of these teams, it starts back this week. Mataflow, I'm going to need predictions out of you. Barcelona, defending champs. You got Liga de Quito. You got a bunch of interesting stories. Independiente del Valle has lost some players. Moises Caicedo, we know how that went. They've lost their manager, Miguel Angel Ramirez. Lots of things going on in Ecuador, and there's a lot of players in Ecuador who I think, wow, what a goal for Lanús. Sorry, I think you're going to see a lot more players from Ecuador coming to MLS. I think you're going to start to see it because the Moises Caicedo thing is going to turn a lot of heads. With Atlanta in that mix, tried to get him. He ends up going to the Premier League instead. You're going to see more people involved. Full diving header from Lanús to take the lead midway through the second half. Free kick to the back post, headed back across, diving header. Very, very nice. Golazo! That is impressive.
And I've added Adam Brandon's Chilean newsletter to my stacks as well, from Pichanga over at Substack. So I've added that one as well. You mentioned Cesar Luis Merlo. He's also put out earlier this hour that River has accepted Atletico Mineiro's offer for Nacho Fernandez. Club will have close to $6 million US clean, and in the next few days, the footballer will travel to sign for 3 years.
They needed that money coming in because they're linked to like 27 other players, and that might have went up to 37 after losing last night at Estudiantes. 2 fairly late goals, too. In Argentina...
I always love that. You lose a game, it looks like we got to bring in a couple more guys.
Well, they were already linked to like 5 guys, and they waited until the last minute to get these things done. Yeah, the pressure's on. Like with River and Boca both, there's a lot of pressure. I mean, River is looking for another domestic title, and we've been talking about this Copa de la Liga and what it's classified as for a while now, because originally they classified it as a league title, and this matters to how people track trophies in Argentina. You get your international trophies, you get your Copas, and you get your league titles, and it was like, oh, this is a league, and it's only like 13 games and in playoffs? Okay, cool. They've had playoffs in Argentina before. That's not new. But now they've changed it again because that's what they do. It's going to be a cup title, not a league title. The thing in the second half of the year, which will be 25 games, will be a league title. But anyway, River has not done well domestically. They haven't won a trophy in quite a while. There's some pressure there. Now you've got a lot of turnover.
Some big jobs in Europe potentially opening up for a manager who
yeah.
might be looking to jump.
And that's there too. And that's also there because Marcelo Gallardo has said, hey, look, I'm not necessarily committing my future here. Like it's if I go, I go. So, and you're in the midst of kind of a rebuild. So it's really complicated with River right now. It's complicated with Boca right now. And you've had a lot of behind the scenes drama with Boca with board members who don't like Tevez, with Tevez, still being that focal point of the team. There's people who don't care for that. There's talk about Tevez running for the board here at some point and being part of the board when his playing days are over. They didn't look good in their 2-2 draw. I think they probably looked worse than River did, but they got a point out of it. A beautiful free kick from Edwin Cardona to rescue that. Both the big boys didn't look good. The teams that looked good, Defensa looked good. Walter Bow, Gustavo Bow's brother, who's on loan from Boca, by the way. He had 2 goals in a 3-2 win over Huracan. Colón won 3-0 on the road at Central Cordoba. Pulga, the man, Pulga Rodriguez, scores again. The guy's like 95 years old. He looks like he can hardly run, but all he does is score golazos and also nutmeg referees before the game.
Oh,
if you have not
nice.
seen the clip of that, I know I retweeted it over the weekend. It's the shot with the two captains and the referees, the official picture before every game. Polga just puts his foot on top of the ball, rolls it back through the referee's legs, and it's not the first time he's done that either. At the beginning of games, in that moment, it's hilarious. So Polga does that. He goes out and scores the first goal, and boom. Bonfield, in the first game of the Copa de la Liga Profesional, they won 2-0 at home against Racing and really looked good in that one too. Bonfield is a sleeper team to win this trophy. They are a fun team to watch with a lot of good young talent. I like Bonfield a lot. So Argentina right now, this competition is going to be a blast. It is a sprint of a season-ish because it is 13 games. So it's not like a group stage and then a knockout tournament. I mean, it's 13 games. That's significant. Then it's a quarterfinal, semifinal, final. So this is going to be fun. You've got Copa Argentina coming up as well, which is going on throughout all this. The Copa Argentina was drawn in 2019. It was supposed to be done in 2020. It's the 2019-20 Copa Argentina that's actually going to be finished at the end of 21 because, yeah, sure. I mean, COVID, but also what? With the scheduling, it's like they have the bracket and games get randomly scheduled when they can. Jarrett is anxiously awaiting Boca and Claypole, which is coming up. Yes, Claypole. Jarrett, have you got the shirt for Claypole yet?
No, it's I checked once, and I couldn't get it, and I haven't checked again. Thank you for reminding me. I'll go check. I can represent the team that I believe they still hold the record. Yeah.
You might.
I don't know if anyone's passed.
Which record was that?
Red cards. The entire
yeah, like everybody got red carded pretty much.
Yeah, everyone.
Yeah,
everyone got a red card.
That's always fun.
It was great.
Like the bench, like everybody. I think the bus driver got a red card.
Like like that scene in Major League 2 where the umpire throws the entire team out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's that.
The radio announcer got a red card somehow. I mean, that happened too. It was madness.
Probably
Claypole's a fun one. They play Boca coming up. I love the Copa Argentina because you get these random
one of those
games.
Teams, like those lower teams have nothing to lose.
No, it's madness too. It's nuts. Those are all on Teise. Those are a lot of fun to watch. But this tournament in Argentina is going to be fun because I think it's open. I think Boca and River are not as far ahead of everybody else as they typically are. I'm with Bernd. Boca looked poor yesterday. There was a large breakdown on Teise today that they played the doble cinco, the double pivot, two holding midfielders, and it just was really blah. And they weren't getting numbers forward. And, I mean, you're playing Gimnasia, who is not one of the top teams, and they looked better than Boca did. It was really, really disappointing. River looks better than Boca. Mataflo is dead on. Like, Boca is just, we've got big players and we put them out and they'll figure it out. River has a better way of playing. They don't quite have the players that they did back in the day, though. So Boca has done pretty well against River. They did, at least in the Copa Diego Maradona. Boca can handle that. River still has enough quality with Gallardo, and they've got new faces coming in. We'll see. It might take them some time in this tournament to get to their full strength, but I think Defensa, with the confidence they have, and now getting Becasese back, Defensa is absolutely a contender to win this, and it would be their first top-flight domestic title in Argentina. The Copa Sudamericana was their first major trophy. They had, lower division trophies. That was it. So, they would love to get a domestic trophy, and they absolutely could. Colón, maybe. I mean, they were in the Sudamericana final not that long ago. If Pulga keeps scoring goals at 103 years old, then yeah. And nutmegging referees. Bonfield was in the final of the Copa Diego Maradona, and they're going to be in the mix for the final here. And you're going to get somebody surprising. I mean, Tacheres has played a bunch of young guys. I want to see how they handle losing Tomas Pochettino to Austin, but it's wide open. Like, every game feels wide open. So I'm really looking forward to it. You can get all of that on Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. If you don't have the Fanatis, and you don't have all these channels on your cable or streaming setup, you can get on Fanatis. And they've actually added the Argentine FA's Play service. So they've got like a bunch of Spanish language stuff that has previously not been available in the United States, which is pretty cool. A lot of behind the scenes stuff, a lot of stuff I think from the 2018 World Cup, like behind the scenes, building up to it. A lot of cool stuff. I want to see what all they add on that. So they just added that. You've got the Guatemalan Tigo Sports. So you've got the Guatemalan League you can watch on Fanatis. You'd be surprised. There's some fun stuff in that. You've got Goal TV, which gets you Ecuador, which is awesome. Highly recommended. Yep. Uruguay, which is pretty fun. They like to kick people a lot. You get a little more defense in Uruguay, but you get some really like weird matches at times. There's a team, Phoenix, that has like this beautiful little stadium like right on the bay in Montevideo. That was a pretty cool like afternoon game to watch one day, and I was like, okay, it's a pretty fun team to watch. I like this. Cool. Goal TV also gets you. Who am I missing? Well, they get you the Portuguese League. That was what I was looking for. They get you the Portuguese League, which is a good one. BN obviously has France. They have La Liga. They have Turkey. They've got Copa Sudamericana. They've got Copa Libertadores. You got all kinds.
They've got African Cup of Nations.
Yes. And Fanatis gives you all of the BN Sports Connect stuff, too. So you've got the For the Fans network as well, which has the Austrian Bundesliga. So that's all in there. You've got the Ata Football, which has all of the Women's Super League games. You can watch them all through your Fanatis app. All really cool stuff. So highly, highly, highly recommended the Fanatis. Very, very good.
And, this weekend, Lanús and Defensa play on Saturday.
Oh, that'll be a good one. We'll see if they both come in after wins. Lanús is still holding on to a lead in the 34th minute of the second half, 1-0 at Independiente. They just pulled De La Vega late. He's going to shoot a new cover of Tiger Beat after the game. Fanatis also has, for an additional price, the Brasileiro pack. So you can watch Brazil. And Brazil, Internacional and Flamengo are going to come down to the wire. And they're going to play each other this weekend, which will be a must watch on Fanatis. Internacional lost last week. They lost in their last match. They won this time around 2-0 at Vasco da Gama yesterday. They have a 1-point lead at the top of the table in Brazil with 2 games left, I believe. Flamengo won their 5th in a row after they fired Dome Tarrant. They were all over the place. They've played like 95 games in a calendar year. They've won 5 in a row. They won 2-1 over Corinthians. Gabigol scored the winner in the 55th minute. If you're interested in the Brazilian League, you might be interested in a team that I am not a fan of right now, and I am still very, very angry with for sullying the good name of Joga Bonito in Palmeiras. Well, they're working on sullying some more. Diego Costa appears to be joining Palmeiras. Yes. Yes. You want some ish
You never felt
Housery?
like a team was just designed for you to hate them.
Yes. Palmeiras is doing that.
This is how Jason felt about Chicago in like 2016. Too.
No, that was just stupid. Like Palmeiras is like trying to play the style of soccer that I hate the most. Like they are trying to drive me insane. Diego Costa grew up as a fan of Palmeiras. He's wanted to play there. Well, he doesn't have anywhere else to play, so there you go. He might get to play there. Now,
no, come on.
I mean, he's got nowhere else to go, okay? There was a good piece in The Guardian about Brazil's state right now with football, and it is interesting. You know, Palmeiras goes to the Club World Cup. They get beat by Tigres, which had not happened. They lose the third-place game to Al-Ahly.
Yes.
The penalties were horrendous, by the way.
They were.
And
awful.
They were amazing.
Rony should never take a penalty again.
He's like banned from ever taking another penalty ever in the history of ever.
Never, not even at training. He lines up to take a penalty after training. Like the Showtime at the Apollo hook should come out and drag him away.
He should just get two-footed by somebody and it's over.
Diego Costa can two-foot him. That would be something that would put him in my good graces. Well, everybody in Brazil, of course, had a lot of fun with us making fun of Palmeiras. I mean, they should be.
Yeah.
It was really bad. I learned a new term in Portuguese, the vexame. It looks like vexame. The vexame. That's a shame or humiliation.
Yeah, vexing. Yeah, that makes sense.
Vexame. Well, they had a definite vexame in losing to Tigres and in losing to Al-Ahly. Now, Flamengo lost 1-0 to Liverpool in 2019. There's no vexame there. Nothing to be ashamed of. Losing to Tigres and then losing to an Egyptian club. No offense to our Mexican fans and our Egyptian fans, but yeah, if you're a Brazilian team, you're going to feel ashamed. You're going to feel bad. And look, their schedule's insane, and they have no patience for managers, and that's a huge part of this. But Brazil's got to sort this stuff out. I agree, Modiflo. Palmeiras fans can be insufferable. I'm right there with you. They are my most hated team right now. I'm sure somebody will pass them at some point, but they are right there. But let's put it in perspective a little bit.
Celtic, don't do that. Celtic's going to do something stupid.
They will. I know they will. Neil Lennon will do something stupid, or he'll say something stupid. It's more likely.
Yeah.
Let's talk about what led to this a little bit with Palmeiras, because the article I thought broke things down pretty well. In January, Palmeiras played 10 games. In January, they played 10 games. Yeah. Abel Ferreira, the manager, has been there for 3 months, 25 games. They had COVID outbreaks. He had COVID. Had a bunch of injuries. I mean, yeah, they're not coming into this in their top form. He is the 6th different manager to take over in the last 2.5 years. That's the biggest problem in the Brazilian game to me. So Palmeiras is a big club. They've had success. 6 managers in 2.5 years. He's demanding time. I think he's begging for time is maybe the better way to put it. He said this about Liverpool. Now, of course, things changed a little bit after the weekend, but he said, at Liverpool, the coach is the same. The squad is the same. If it was in Brazil, what would have happened? The same with City. The same coach, the same players, big investments to choose the players they want. It started badly and is now well. He's begging, like, you got to give me a little bit of time to do this. Like, I've been here 3 months. I've had a bunch of players with COVID. I had COVID. We've played 25 games. We're playing a game every, 3 days. Can I get a chance to settle in and, build something, please?
Give me a little space.
Please?
No, you may not.
No, you don't. As Modiflo says, the saying is you lose 3 games and you lose the job, and that's what we've seen. Now, the other thing that has dramatically changed, and it's kind of crazy, how fast this has changed. So Palmeiras won the Copa Libertadores in 1999. That was the last time they won the Libertadores before this one. Luis Felipe Scolari was the manager. They had players in the 99 Palmeiras team that won the Libertadores that had played in the World Cup final the year before, and then were part of Scolari and Brazil's World Cup winning team in 2002. Cafu, Rivaldo, Roberto Carlos all played for the team in the mid-90s. They didn't go to Europe at 18. They went in their mid-20s. Cafu was still playing in Brazil in 97 after he had won the World Cup in 94. They didn't go at 18. They went at 25. 11 of the 22 players who won the 94 tournament were based at Brazil in Brazilian teams. In 2018, 3 of the squad were based in Brazil, and only 1 of them actually played in the 2018 World Cup. Now it's okay, we want to produce guys like Vinicius, who then go to Real Madrid at 18, and that's what we're known as. And yes, you also want to win the Libertadores and win the league, but that's what you're looking at. Well, now that's changing. And I thought it was a really good point that Tom Sanderson at The Guardian made. Well, now you got people freaking out because they're selling players to FC Cincinnati.
Yeah.
They're not waiting to sell players to Real Madrid. They're selling Brenner from Sao Paulo for $15 million to Cincinnati. Some people are looking at that as a vexame. That's a disgrace. Now, it's a little weird, and there can be some serious arguing about this. Where in the past, no, you're not arguing about it. Martin Fernandez writes for Globo Esporte, and this is Martin Fernandez's opinion. He was asked, is MLS better than the Brasileiro? Fernandez said no. But he said he understands why an ambitious young forward would want to go to MLS. He said, MLS is a league with a level much lower than the Brazilian Championship. I thoroughly disagree with that much lower comment. He says, but they're on an upward curve. In Brazil, we're stuck in time with the same problems, a bizarre and overpacked schedule and violence, to name just two. We are 30 years behind. There's no shame that he's going to the MLS. It's absolutely normal if you think that the other day his team were attacked by their own fans. It's natural that anyone on that bus would want to move as far away as possible. He said, Brenner's just 21. He has 3 years of experience in the pro ranks. He's already had 9 different coaches. He had to go. And Cincinnati was the one who came in and grabbed him.
We call that a Falcons offensive coordinator cycle, sir.
That's even worse. I mean, this is a whole nother level. This is insanity. Modaflow and Tifo Soccer does great stuff in their videos. They really explain stuff like this in a very concise, short way in their videos, a very entertaining way. The graphics are awesome. There's a really good one on the problems with Brazilian soccer, and I've seen that one at Tifo Soccer. Go to YouTube. Great stuff. They're attached to The Athletic. It's great stuff. When now you're starting to see young 21-year-old top scorers in Brazil come to MLS, things are changing really quickly. For the MLS side, absolutely it's part of it. And on the Brazilian side, they are stuck, and I think they're regressing. That's why I don't think they're that much better than MLS. I think the top teams, yeah, you can have that conversation, but if you played 10 games with Columbus, Atlanta, LAFC, the teams that you consider to be the most talented and top teams in MLS in any given year. I know Atlanta last year would not be in that conversation, I know, but in general.
Yeah. And
you play them against Flamengo, against Internacional. The top teams in Brazil are going to be a little bit better. I don't think 9 out of 10 times better. I think it's like 6, 7 out of 10 better than the top American teams. But you get to the bottom of the table in Brazil, yeah, it's all over the map. And you get this stuff where just the way they're set up is so dysfunctional. I don't think it's all that much better. I mean, I've watched the Brasileiro a good bit, and there's some incredible talent there. And you have some horrible games in that league, too. Horrible. You have horrible games in MLS, you have horrible games in every league. I feel like there's a greater number of horrible games in Brazil. And the attitude is very cynical. It gets very defensive. It gets very negative. You saw it in the Palmeiras-Santos game in the Libertadores final. You get that. And I don't feel like MLS games generally get that. When it's a bad game, it's a bad game. You don't get two teams that just try not to let the other play, and that's all they do. You don't get as much of that. It's frustrating. And I think that if Brazil keeps sliding backwards, yeah, that whole thing about MLS being the top league in this hemisphere, it's not that far off.
I mean, let's take the 4 teams that are currently in the relegation strap, 17 through 20. Vasco, Goiás, Coritiba, Botafogo. If you took teams 17 through 20 out of Major League Soccer and put them up against Vasco, Goiás, Coritiba, and Botafogo, what do you think would happen?
It's different styles. The thing that's weird, and this is where Brazil's really going to struggle, Vasco and Botafogo are 2 big clubs, or historically big clubs, that are in this spot. That's what's scary, is now it's not just, okay, the bottom is teams that are back and forth, and smaller clubs that are up and down, yada, yada. Now you've got 2 more clubs there that could be joining Cruzeiro, which is another big club, which was a mid-table second division team this year. Mid-table. Figueirense is a team that's been in the top flight in Brazil in the past. They're going to get relegated from Serie B. Botafogo's a big club. Vasco's a big club. And they might be in the second division next year. You're getting big clubs start to slide down that route, and they don't come back very easily. That's where it gets really scary.
So is this like what we're seeing with the teams from the Premier League dropping to the Championship and having problems working their way back into the Premier League discussion like a Hull City or something?
No, you're. This is the problem, though. You're talking about Hull City, who Hull City has no history in the first division. Botafogo does. Vasco da Gama does. You're talking. This would be the equivalent of. I mean, I don't even want to say like an Everton level team getting relegated and not hearing from them again. I'm in the like Chelsea Arsenal level. Like you're talking about massive clubs going down. And that's starting to happen with some regularity in Brazil because it's so dysfunctional and it's so messed up. So Mataflo says Liga MX is his vote for the best league in the new world. And MLS is really close. It is. It's.
I would buy that for now.
Yeah, I'm okay
it's changing,
with that.
But I would buy that.
I mean, not individual teams, because I will take Inter and Flamengo, and I will take in a normal year a River and a Boca. And you're not going a whole lot further than that. Like your top MLS teams in a given year are going to struggle to compete with the best from Brazil and the best from Argentina, and we've seen them struggle, although it's been very competitive now, with the best from Mexico. The best from Mexico didn't normally play their best and didn't always send their best to the Copa Libertadores, but they were getting deep into the tournament. So Mexico and the South American top teams are not that far off, and MLS is not that far off from Mexico. Now, what you will see when they do compete, and I'm sorry, I think it's a no-brainer here at some point that MLS will be part of the Copa Libertadores and the Copa Sudamericana. I think there's too much money on the table, and now you've got a reason to go get that money because of the losses from the pandemic. You'll find a way, and it will be weird, and it's a ton of travel, and it will be strange, and I think you're going to have to get really creative with how you make it work. But you will see it, and I think at the beginning of it, you will see some MLS teams really struggle in it, even if they've done really well in MLS, because the pressure, the way the game is played, the mentality, some of the decision-making, the reactions to the pressure of the moment, not the pressure in terms of playing a high press, but the pressure of the moment. That's where I felt like MLS teams have struggled with Mexican teams, especially in those games in Mexico.
Right.
You'll see that happen for a little bit because you got to get that experience. But in terms of overall quality, I don't think they're far off. And things could change really quickly if you start buying more Brenners and you start buying more Santiago Sosas and you start buying these guys. I mean, if an MLS team gets Alan Velasco, if an MLS team gets Pedro de la Vega, like if next time an MLS team gets a Moises Caicedo, you're going to see it. You're going to see it. I mean, Mataflo points it out in Libertadores. I think it was 2015, Mataflo. Tigres went to the final. They lost. Pumas was very close. Pachuca won the Sudamericana. I remember watching that. It was a really fun run for Pachuca to get there. It's not far off. DC United, I mean, this is a long time ago. 2006, I think, maybe 5, played in the Copa Sudamericana, and they got Universidad Católica of Chile. And, I mean, it was incredibly competitive. The second game in Chile, DC went up twice, I think, and ended up losing it. It was a wild game. Christian Gomez and Jaime Moreno, I think, scored. I mean, it was a really fun game. I went back and watched those highlights not that long ago, and they were right in the mix.
2007.
2007, okay. They were right in the mix with that. So you're not crazy far off, but yeah, I'm completely fine with saying that Mexico, Brazil, Argentina as overall leagues are ahead of MLS right now, but I don't think it's a big gap. It's going to get interesting here very soon, but there should be warning bells clanging in Brazil that things aren't right, and they've got to fix this stuff. But you're going to have to break a lot of history with the state leagues, with the way the Brasileiro is structured, with the Copa do Brasil and how big that is and how that's structured. You've got teams playing too many games, and you've got teams that are not showing any patience in developing any kind of a system. The overall talent that's being developed is not what it used to be once they get into these professional teams, because guy's 21 and he's had 9 managers. What are you learning? Yeah. So that stuff's got to change. I don't know if it's going to change anytime soon, but the warning bells should be clanging that MLS is coming, Mexico is coming, your top teams in Argentina are coming. Like, Brazil's not the best league, no questions asked in this hemisphere anymore. I just don't think they are. I think the Palmeiras run here right now is showing it.
Yeah. And the last matches that we saw with Palmeiras here in 2021 have been painful. They've been painful watches. And, where do you, if you're Palmeiras, where do you go from here? I mean, it was awful viewing looking at them in the Club World Cup, and it was awful viewing as they were chasing a title. And it took a cross and a last-minute moment for them to get a title. So, yeah, I think that if you're a fan of the sport, then you've got to put hubris aside and sit there and understand that there are major problems here, especially with some of your big guns, and you've got to figure out a way to fix it.
MLS and Mexico, and I agree with Mataflo, are changing it because they're in better shape financially.
Yeah.
Working together on things is going to help both strengthen. Brazil and Argentina, especially Argentina financially, are going to have some huge problems, and that's going to make it more difficult. They do a better job of developing talent. And, I mean, it's not like their teams are, all that much more patient, but they're a little more patient than the Brazilian teams. I think the Argentine league is going to be in a little bit better shape than Brazil. You're just, and maybe it's because they changed the rules when a team does get relegated like River, but you're not seeing the Grandes have the problems that are getting relegated like you're starting to see in Brazil. That's the thing that scares me, because that's just not normal. Gustavo comes in, and he's not happy after watching Independiente lose to Lanús. Independiente has not beaten Lanús for 7 games and has 4 consecutive home losses. To top it off, a former Toto Rojo player scores the goal. We just had to face the finalists of the Sudamericana. I'm bitter. That's what Gustavo says. Gustavo, gracias for sending me this. I really appreciate it.
Very nice.
So
very nice.
Gustavo picked up the Olé special on Maradona and his career, and very cool stuff. It is helping me with my reading comprehension of Spanish, and I'm reading it out loud and doing some translation on that to, one, help me learn everything in it, but I'm doing a little bit better than I thought I would, but it's also helping me with pronunciation and stuff, so it is helping. Bernd, I knew you were going to come in on this. I was waiting. Took you too long, man. I was waiting for it. Burns says, but guys, with a $12 million salary cap, you are not competitive internationally. I know, but in this hemisphere, you kind of are.
Yeah, stages.
I'm only ever half joking when I say there's something to be said for making sure that the fact that the check clears every week.
There is something to it.
Mm-hmm.
There is. I mean, and that bridges the gap.
Everything, but when you know the check's going to clear.
Yeah. Your reputation sends you to the front of the line.
You know that there won't be a padlock on the door tomorrow morning.
Mm-hmm.
And look, let's be real. That's not happening. It's not happening at all the big teams. I mean,
of course not.
It is starting to in Argentina a little bit, and I'm sure it's the case in Brazil as well with some of the big teams that are missing paychecks and not getting the stuff done properly. I know that stuff is coming up. MLS has to spend more. I am 100% with you on that, Bernd. But by doing it the way they've done it, they've gotten to where they are. Now, they need to expand it faster. And look, maybe it's going to take a minute because of balance and things after the pandemic, and I think that's incredibly fair. But yeah, if things bounce back and the partnership with Mexico goes the way that both sides hope it does, and you get into the Sudamericana and the Libertadores and that kind of stuff comes up, you're going to have to spend more. You're going to have to open it up. And if that means the owners are going to have to go back to the Players Association and say, look, can we do a reverse force majeure now? Can we say we want to open things up more because we're making more money and we want to be more competitive internationally? Can we do the reverse force majeure button? They need to do that when it gets to that point. I think it's hard to complain at the moment about the spending just because of what's happened. And MLS teams have spent, I don't know if it's exactly in a normal way as they normally do, but not too far off. They need to spend more soon, and maybe that process has slowed down. They need to get there. I am 100% with you. The sooner the better. But if it takes them now, if it takes them through 22, I'm okay with that. Because they're going to spend the same amount they have been. I don't think you're going to see teams cut back on spending over the next 2 years. I don't. I think you're going to see probably the same team spend similar amounts. You've got to sell more to bring in more money. I'm 100% with you. You've got to sell more to bring in more. And once they do that more, then we're having a different conversation. But they've got to recoup some too. You get through 22, and you're in a position to spend more overall across the board and raise those cap numbers. You need to find a way to do it. You need to. It is moving in the right direction. And I think my thing with it, Bernd, and I know we go back and forth on it a lot, and it's because the history that I've had with it, I've just seen it be so small and so unstable, professional soccer in this country. I'm okay with trading the stability right now to know, like Jarrett says, you're not going to have a team that is in an Independiente situation and is going to be banned from the transfer market for 3 years because they can't pay their debts. It's good to know that you're not going to be in a situation like River where they had to sell to be able to spend any money and upgrade their squad. It's good to know that you're not in that situation in MLS. That is comforting in some ways. I think you've established that now, though. And look, the pandemic maybe shook it up, and I would understand if it did. But get through that. Make your money back as best you can. Get back on stable footing. And if you have the opportunity to jump Argentina, to jump Brazil, to pick off their best players at even younger ages, to develop better players like you're starting to sell more like you're starting to, if you have the ability to do all that, yeah, you need to increase the cap sooner than 27. You need to. But you got to get there too. And I'm okay with it taking a second to get there because of the pandemic. They need to grow faster. Now's the time to hit the gas a little bit once you bounce back. And I don't know how long that's going to take. I think through the end of 22. Once you get to the end of 22, I think we'll have a better sense of it. But, yeah, they need to get on the gas more. They absolutely need to. Bernd says a cap of $30 million, they're competitive in the Americas. Now, I think, Bernd, and what I want to ask you is a spend of 30 or a cap of 30? Because in MLS rules, if you have a cap of 30, you then have the designated players and the other stuff, now the U22s and all that you can add on. Because some teams spend 30 now, or they're in that ballpark. I think they're in the 20s. I'm thinking you need to get everybody across the board, your average spend, to 30.
Yeah.
I think that's where you want to get your average. So you have some ahead of that, and you have some below that. And if the designated player spend can share that, or the U22 spend, if you're going to go out and drop $15 million on the guys that would qualify as U22s, and pay them $500,000 a year, which is a huge raise for them from what they're coming from. But you're paying a bunch of money with the expectation you're going to sell them for even more later. That's where it can change. This U22 initiative could be that trigger that you're looking for, that a lot of people are looking for to kick this league into another direction. What I'm excited about this season for MLS, and we're going to wrap up here in a second because we got a show in the morning and we can't throw all the good stuff out already. What I'm excited about this season, it's kind of like what we talked about with Argentina, where it feels like anybody could win the title this year, or a lot of different teams could win it. MLS, it's felt that way a lot for a little while now. Like, there's teams who are better than others, but I don't think there is a clear, overwhelming favorite in MLS this year. I don't think there is. You look at it and
I'm waiting for someone to say LAFC just because.
But, you can't say that coming off of 7th place in the West. Like, they are in that. Columbus.
I agree with you.
Columbus is the best team in the league. Columbus is the best team in my opinion. They got better in the offseason and they won MLS Cup. But in the East, I mean, it's wide open. The West is wide open. Like, it's. I don't know where anybody's going to finish. I have no idea what I'm going to predict for things this year, which is cool. Like, I like that. It's not Germany. It's not typically England. You're getting a little bit of shakeup this year, but not a ton. Serie A is the best one right now because it's a little crazy. France is a little crazy, which is different. But MLS is always like that. I like that. I do enjoy that. But I'm with you in that to take the next step, to be competitive internationally, you've got to have the ability, and not everybody can do it, but the ability for teams that can to spend more. And how do you maintain what is good about MLS with parity and allow the bigger ownership groups to outspend others and still have some semblance of parity? And I don't know if that's what you want. I don't know. You want to try to walk that line as long as you can. You want the bigger teams to lift up the smaller teams as much as you can.
Right.
And it's tough because we don't see that in most countries. It's a fascinating thing. It'll be fun to watch.
And I still think, though, over the next handful of years that you may see some current owners who see the landscape and because of what happened last year and this year, understand that they can't handle the future. They won't be in a position to continue to invest and be investing at that next level. So you may see folks sell, but at the same time, I still think that you'll see folks who will be interested in being a part of Major League Soccer who would want to be along the same lines of an Atlanta United and all those other teams that want to invest the way that we're seeing Atlanta United invest.
Yeah, Atlanta could spend that 30, and Byrne said total spend of 30. Toronto was about 25 the year that they should have won CONCACAF Champions League. I'm with Byrne. I think you give up a little bit of parity to achieve international relevance. I'm okay with that. You have the parity because of the playoffs. That's going to add parity because it just is. That's how it goes. I'm cool with that trade-off. I'm cool with that being the way to do it, but I do want teams. I don't want teams because I don't know if we're quite there yet. I don't want to be like the Detroit Lions. I don't want teams to be like Jacksonville Jaguars have been. I don't want teams to be
You're gonna have.
Who's your crappiest baseball team that's never had a chance for the last 10 years, Jarrett?
Pittsburgh, Florida.
Miami made the playoffs last year, but Pittsburgh had a 2 or 3 year run where they made the playoffs and then they just punted. And now Pittsburgh is selling off anybody with a pulse. Look, Tampa made the World Series last year. Tampa's payroll is going to be just above Toronto FC's.
DM Tim said Padres. That was the one that came to mind as I was thinking of.
Yeah, Padres are fun now, though, so I can forgive a lot.
Baltimore? Tigers?
Oh, it's a good shout.
We're getting the Twitch pitch throwing out baseball teams that they think are bunk.
Baltimore and Tigers are always a good shout.
Yeah.
And when you go, and here's the thing with baseball, though, you go back 10 years, things change. That's, 2011. You're talking, you're talking about the Tigers being interesting, Baltimore, having Chris Davis when Chris Davis could actually, hit a baseball.
But this is the thing. You're going to nerd out on it, and you're going to think it's interesting. Are they selling tickets? Is the local fan base excited, thinking their team has a shot to win it all that year?
That's a complex question, honestly. But, in terms of selling tickets, it's a complex question. In terms of thinking they have a chance, you got, 5 or 6 teams generally that you think have a chance. And when you get into the playoffs, it's the same thing with Major League Soccer that makes it fun with every playoff. Is it's so much parity because all you have to do is get to the dance.
Yeah.
Once you get there, weird things happen. And that's the beauty of it. And that is the appeal of it. And I hope we never lose the playoffs for that reason.
No, I don't want to. No, if they no, don't lose the playoffs. I'll start fighting people. But in MLS, I feel like
I can watch Jason fight people.
I will fight people. But I feel like you get a bunch of different faces in the playoffs in MLS, and in baseball, you don't really get as many different faces in the playoffs. Like you get crazy things that happen once you get in.
You do, and a lot of times it comes from those different faces, but they're not a lot of different faces.
Yeah, it's a small number.
And those are the ones that, they come out of the gladiator pit with a very large axe, and they're swinging it. They might cut off their own arm. They might cut yours off, too. It's kind of fun to watch. You know what you're going to get usually with the teams that pop up there all the time. But, yeah, the wild card teams that get in there are just that. They're the wild cards, and they make it fun. And that parity does make it fun. When you get a Columbus that makes a run in 2017, where they're, God, go back and look at that. They were real damn close to beating Toronto. or New York Red Bull, excuse me, in 2017 in the playoffs. Like, that parity is great. And I think we're going to run into that in soccer eventually, where to John's point, like, people are going to get out and they're going to tap out and go, nope, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm going to sell because my team's, my franchise's value has gone up. I'm going to sell. I'm going to make a profit. Somebody else can sink money into this.
No, you'll get that for sure. I think that's definitely going to happen over the next 5 years. Is you'll get some groups that will sell out.
You're going to need to time it right, because if you're not going to spend and other teams start spending, I understand that soccer is a sport of parity, but there's going to come a point in time where you're going to get run off the field.
Yeah, but the difference, and this is why it's so different than England with Newcastle, for example, where Mike Ashley, if they get relegated, his potential sale price goes down. You don't have that here, and you do have the bigger teams helping out the smaller teams in the franchise valuations. Like, of course, Real Salt Lake's not going to sell for as much as LAFC would, but it's going to sell for more than it would in another country where they might have got relegated because they're not putting any money into it. So it's weird. It's finding the balance between, and like Byrne points it out, with, you don't want team 1 to team 20 or team 30 in MLS's case. You don't want the payroll difference to be this huge, dramatic, like 5-fold difference, because you can't compete over a full season that way. Now, the playoffs do provide a little bit of that craziness with a hot run, especially if you're going to go single game throughout it, and you get a team that sneaks in as the 8, and they just go on a run. That can happen, and that's cool. I'm excited about that. That's fun. But in general,
New England last year kind of thing. Where, not to say New England was an 8 seed, but
Yeah, you want to find the balance, because I think if you can get there, it's the best of both worlds. You can then have a team in MLS that can play with your best teams in Mexico consistently and feel like they're better, and go down and play with a Palmeiras and play with an Internacional and play with Boca and play with River and not feel inferior. You want that, and are they always going to win MLS Cup? No, because of the playoff structure. They're going to get eliminated. They're going to get knocked out in a shocker. It's going to happen. You want to find that
get
balance.
Knocked out by a USL team in U.S. Open Cup. It's hilarious every time.
Yeah, but people don't always take that seriously. That's a whole nother thing.
I know. I wish they would, though.
Yeah, I know. Me too. It's really, really interesting when you get past the on the field stuff in MLS, and you start to really look at this, or what it could be, and what tweaks you could make to get there. And I think what MLS has done from day one to now is it's the best startup in sports, like in modern times. It's the best startup to go from nothing to what it is now, to go from where it was in 2005 to what it is now. Hell, it's in a different place.
I think it's a. Oh, go ahead. Finish your thought.
It's incredibly special to watch it go from tiny to this conversation, which doesn't feel that far off to be able to compete with the biggest teams in the hemisphere. It feels like literally a few years.
Yeah, it does, and but I think it is also worth remembering, and I don't mean it in a bad way. Remember that it's taken a long time for this to happen. There's ups and downs when you do this sort of thing. When you're building something from the ground up, you just be patient with it and keep working at it. I just don't want people to think, well, this didn't work in 5 years' time, so we're done. No. I don't get that sense. I think that stuff, and this is where I get like insane with people throwing out like crazy hypotheticals about what could happen, and it happens on all aspects of American soccer. Like, no, the league's not going anywhere in 5 years. It's not going to go away because everybody decides we're going to sell out because they didn't beat Chivas in a CONCACAF game. The league is doing well and it's growing. You're going to be selling more players. You're going to be making more money. There's so many different aspects to it. Like the dramatic change feels like it could really only go up from here. Yeah. And that's what's exciting. Like, I don't feel like you're going to see a massive downturn because there's not another competitor on the horizon. Like, I don't think the NHL becomes dramatically bigger than they are.
NBA, Major League Baseball, NFL are all on a different
Baseball
level
might
anyway.
fall off,
Baseball's going to fall off. That's going to help you a little bit. I agree.
That's a whole different kettle.
Yeah. Baseball down here is at like 3:30 in the morning on Thursdays.
Yes,
it's a lot of that. That's not that got cut by the FCC. There was too much. Too much language.
Yeah, I know. I just said hell in Blue Joe Boss mine, so we got to be careful about that stuff. Like I just told Joe on the Twitch pitch, and Jarrett can attest to this. You don't want to hear me yelling about a pro referee in a game where I don't have a microphone in front of me.
It's beautiful.
Yes,
it's something. It's a lot of.
It is quite colorful, and
it's very colorful.
It's always a fun listen.
There's a lot of F's and There's a
colorful
lot of stuff.
Metaphors down here.
Yeah, some of them aren't even really that colorful. They're just vulgar.
Yeah, some of them aren't even metaphors.
Some of them are not even metaphors. They're just straight up vulgarities.
Imperatives and expletives.
They're just straight up vulgarities.
It was Schoolhouse Rock down here, but the After Dark version.
Yeah,
we're
totally.
Different parts of speech, our kids.
Totally. Well, we're not going to figure out MLS's next steps tonight. We will watch it happen.
We don't do 3-hour shows, remember?
We don't. We got to shut that down so it doesn't happen. Gustavo asked if we had talked about Becca Sese. Gustavo hates Becca Sese. He's a hater because Becca Sese went to Independiente. It didn't work, and then he goes across town and beats him with Racing. Gustavo doesn't
talked about it. You missed it.
Gustavo does not think that Becca Sese can win like Crespo. Where I'll agree with you on Becca Sese, Gustavo, is I think Crespo had a lot of the same ideas on the field, maybe even a little bit better, but he managed the team with a personality that Becca Sese needs to find. The thing that always stood out to me about Crespo, and this is going to sound really stupid, but when he was really trying to implement the way that they play, and you could see it coming in this 3-4-3 that was like incredibly open, and you'd see mistakes happen, they would always cut to him. You never saw him angry on the touchline. It always felt like he was cheering his guys on. They made a mistake, he's clapping. He's like talking about, let's get it back. We'll be okay. Like it always felt like he was motivating. That's something that, and Gustavo's mentioned it, and we've seen it with others. Becca Sese needs to be better at managing people. And I don't think it's so much the players, but maybe the relationships at some of the clubs. And defense is one that, look, he had a decent relationship. He goes back. We'll see if he's learned a few things. But yeah, he's got a lot to live up to now. Hernan Crespo, I still think he made the wrong move in leaving.
Yeah.
I absolutely think he made the wrong move, and Mataflo, I believe, is I think the autocorrect kind of got him on this because Mataflo says crap will be back in Argentina in 2 months. You heard it here first. I think there is some crap in Argentina, Mataflo, but I'm going to assume you meant Hernan Crespo.
Not crapo, but Crespo.
Just crap. I think there's already crap in Argentina. But I think Crespo will be back maybe a little longer than 2 months. He should have just waited until Gallardo left at River, and then he'd take that job. That's what he should have done. I think he's going to a place where if he loses 3 games, he's going to be fired, as they say, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And he is too good of a manager with a game model that's going to need a little bit of time. He needs more time.
When that happens, you better pick up the phone, Vancouver. He won't say yes, but you better pick up the phone just for
anybody should. Yeah, anybody should. I think Hernan Crespo is going to be a very, very good manager in his next stop. I don't know if it's going to be in Brazil, but he is going to be a very good manager's next stop. And Nick Alifi chiming back in on the Twitch pitch with a good one. So don't be shocked if Crespo gets looks from Serie A. He's got that history there. Teams will be looking. They saw he just won a Sudamericana. Absolutely.
Hey, man, that's a two-way street too because I am part of our favorite psychotic Italian manager's hive. And if things explode at Napoli, you are welcome in the Americas, sir. Come to the new world.
Well, Gattuso coming this way, yeah. Gattuso would there would be a charge. Like somebody would end up injured, and Gattuso might be to blame, and it'd be an international incident. There could have been a fork involved. We don't want that, Jarrett. We don't want that.
Anything with a utensil.
Gattuso's out there with a fork, like daring the Bada Brava to fight him.
We don't.
Abdullah the Butcher.
We don't want that. allegedly, it's a legend out there. It has not been confirmed that this happened. The Newell's Bada Brava showed up at Bielsa's house when they were in a rough spot during his time at Newell's as a manager back in the early 90s. And Bielsa came out of the house with a grenade. This is a legend. This is rumor. This is myth.
What?
Yes.
Yep.
He came out of the house with a grenade.
Yeah.
The Bada Brava didn't go back to see Bielsa anymore after that. I don't know what Gattuso would come out of the house with. I do like the idea that Monteflo has of Gattuso going to Canada, because that would just be amazing. Can we get Gattuso in Montreal?
Gattuso in Vancouver.
No, let's get him in Montreal.
Yeah,
Sorry, Thierry Henry's got to go somewhere.
Could you Gattuso and Joey Saputo?
That could happen.
The first time Joey doesn't give him what he wants, though.
Well, Joey would know to give him what he wants. Joey would know what he's getting into. He's got Italian roots. He would know exactly what he's got. No, that's great. That's the one I like.
Gattuso at Poutineville.
Gattuso would tear up Poutineville. He would be checking off every box on that paper menu. You would have poutine stacked to the ceiling with every topping you could get.
The man's blood would just be salt.
Yeah, pretty much. He would feel hungover the next day like I did eating poutine. I didn't have all those crazy toppings. I was like, I had one beer. Why am I hungover? Oh, I ate poutine. I am dehydrated. Boy. Final one on the Twitch pitch. I agree with Monteflo. Crespo to Parma. That's what'll happen at some point. Legend there. That would be the one. And Nick is with the Saputo and Gattuso idea. I really like this. This would be a we would probably have to start a show about it. Now. Yeah, we would probably have to start a show if that happens. And when it happens, just remember you heard it here first.
Yeah. We'll have to find some contacts in Montreal to do a French show as well.
I can't help you with that. I'm working on Spanish. I can't try to add another language into it, and I'm trying to.
No. We have someone in Montreal run the show in French.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, I can't do it. I can't. Somebody's gonna have to do that because I wouldn't know if they're saying anything right. Like I can't help you there. I'm trying to get the differences with like the Argentine lunfardo and the slang and the different things that they say in Argentina that are completely and utterly different than the rest of the world that speaks Spanish. Y'all are crazy, Gustavo. I'm talking to you.
It's accurate.
It's nuts, but it's fun. I'm getting better at it. They're obsessed with farts. Like every bit of slang like uses something about pedo. That? No, it's like Beavis and Butthead level obsessed with farting. Like every bit of slang uses the word fart.
Sweet.
It's unbelievable.
Awesome.
It's creative. Some of it is.
That's one thing. One way to call it.
It's something. Anyway, we're not going to get into language down here. We're going to
because then that would mean we're doing a 3-hour show.
No, and we're not. We tried to give you as much of a show as we possibly could in our grand return. Thanks for hanging out with us. We appreciate it. We will be back tomorrow morning in our normal time, 9 a.m. With SDH. We'll talk a lot about MLS. We'll talk a lot about She Believes Cup this week. If you missed it, Jessica Charman threw out a request for questions for her podcast that'll be taping tomorrow afternoon. So tweet at Jess Talks Footy with your questions you want me to ask her on the show. Y'all have a good rest of the night. Gustavo says he's very tired. He's angry about his Toto Rojo. He had lots of drinks on Valentine's Day. That sounds good then, Gustavo. Nice. I hope it was a good one. I hope it was a good one for everybody out there. I hope everybody is well. If y'all are driving in the morning in the metro Atlanta area, watch out for that black ice. Mm-hmm. Watch out. We'll be with you at 9 a.m. Mucho platio.
Mucho platio.
Mucho platio, y'all.